The more insecure you are, the more in control the covert narcissist. You see narcissism all over the place as being like the big, like giant person that is just grandiose, thinks the best of the world, like thinks that they're like absolutely number one, that they can't do anything wrong, you know, the life of the party, all this different kind of stuff. But there's a different aspect that doesn't get brought up or doesn't get talked about a lot, and that's the covert narcissism. That's the stuff where they're still filled with the pride, they're still filled with the ego, they're still filled with the entitlement and the sense of superiority, but it is hidden. It's underneath the surface to a place that it makes you feel even more crazy because you're like, there's something off. Like there's something different about this guy. You just can't figure it out. And sometimes it's an aspect of covert narcissism. You sometimes look at narcissism videos and you're just like, that matches, but like not completely, because my narcissist didn't rage out. My narcissist didn't act that particular way. Like it's almost like they did, but not completely. Well, a lot of times people start to get confused with the idea of a narcissist not being overt, but being covert, or having that type of narcissism that's very passive aggressive. Would like to be able to talk to you and like share with you today about a book that we've been going through, which is called The Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. So check that out. It's a new one that I'm going through right now, but it's talking about the aspect of covert narcissism and how it differentiates, like how it's actually a little bit different. So I want to kind of walk you through a little bit of what we're looking at, be able to show you a little bit about narcissism. So the word covert is defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary as not openly shown, passive-aggressive, and is defined as displaying behavior characterized by the expression of negative feelings, resentment, aggression in an unassertive, passive way. You see, a lot of narcissistic traits, you've got overts and coverts, and you see a lot of those traits in all of them. But what you don't see is how the covert ones end up being hidden. The difference is the covert narcissist hides their dark attributes because they want people to like them. Their reputation is extremely important to them. Overt narcissists are usually annoying people. Most don't like them. They're showy. They love to talk about their achievements. It's obvious that they're all about themselves. The overt narcissist is the type of person who will go on and on about how great they are, how much they've accomplished, while people in the room listening are just rolling their eyes. Overt narcissists tend to have the shorter marriages, romantic relationships. It's common for people to be married to coverts for decades and not even know they're married to one for most of the relationship. It's also common for people to be in dating relationships with covert narcissists that go on for years. Children of covertly narcissistic parents often do not realize the truth about their mom or dad until their 30s. Something to think of. Maybe some of that resonates. Covert narcissists will often have careers that are impressive. They can be pastors, spiritual leaders, therapists, and heads of nonprofit organizations. They can be politicians that are charming, look you right in the eye, and really seem to care. Coverts do have a grandiose sense of self. They're preoccupied with fantasies of power, require excessive admiration, but they hide these attributes so that people will like and that people will trust them. They know if they are obvious about their self-absorbed traits, people won't like them. They believe they are special and entitled, but they know it would turn people off to let that be known. They know they must appear humble in order to be liked and revered. They know how to play people, how to charm them. They are master manipulators. They don't have empathy, but they have learned how to act empathetically. They will look you in the eyes, make you feel special and heard, make sounds and give looks that tell you that they care, but they really don't. They mirror your emotions, so it seems like they have empathy. They have observed and learned how to appear to care. They thrive upon the attention of others. People who think or act as if they're amazing are their energy supply. And they have people around them who adore them, respect them, revere them, and see them as special, almost perfect, and in some of the same cases seem to worship them. Does any of that resonate when I'm talking about covert narcissists? Like the passive aggressive? It's very hard to be able to see it, to be able to define it, to be able to know what's going on, because sometimes these people look so good. They look good in the public light. They look good like in their relationships. They look good in the workplace, especially in the workplace, I think. A lot of times you'll have coverts that excel greatly in the workplace, that look great in those type of jobs and attributes, but then they go home and they continue abusing and hurting other people. The Holy Hell documentary provides a great example of a covert narcissist who led a cult with a large following who stayed with him for more than 20 years. The people who followed him aren't stupid. They're kind, smart, talented, tender people who are exploited, used, and convinced by a covert narcissist who appeared to love and care about them. After living with a covert narcissist for a long time, cult deprogramming would actually be more beneficial than a lot of regular therapy with a therapist who does not understand this disorder. It's very true. There's a lot of therapists that struggle to either understand the disorder or identify it when they see it out in the wild. A lot of times when I do one-on-ones with people, I've got several people that I see on a week-to-week basis that they see me versus a therapist because I'm able to validate and understand more of what they're going through. I've also had a couple one-on-ones with people that are therapists or going through clinicals or like learning about this type of stuff. And they're like, I learned about it, but when I got involved in this narcissistic relationship, it didn't look like that. It didn't appear like that at all. And I can't believe I missed it, but it also didn't appear the same way. The efforts of ending a relationship with a covert narcissist are similar to the effects of coming out of a cult. There's a lot of deprogramming that needs to happen in order to heal and see clearly. It's gut-wrenching in the first stages. If you watch the interviewers at the end of Holy Hell, you will be amazed how much you will relate to what the people are thinking and feeling when they finally leave the cult leader. Even though you haven't come out of a cult, it's profoundly a similar experience. Covert narcissists are likable to the outside world. They appear to be giving, humble, and kind. It's usually only the person who gets to know them intimately that sees the destructive traits. The rest of the world sees the facade, the nice guy. Many therapists don't see the mask and indeed are often impressed with how kind and aware the covert narcissist is. Covert narcissists seem to intensify their behaviors around middle age. And they rarely change because narcissists blame others and usually don't think they have a problem. I feel like a lot of people are like resonating with this because covert narcissists are very hard to be able to do. Everybody loves a covert narcissist on a surface level. They tend to not have long-lasting friendships with people who know them deeply. They may only have friends they've known for years, but they don't really know them. They're rarely without a partner. After they discard you, they usually move on quickly to another source, another target who they think are so likely to have found such a nice guy or a nice gal just like you did in the beginning. Many times, daughters will consider their covert narcissist mom to be their best friend until later on in life. It's a devastating realization when they recognize that the person who they thought loved them the most has actually been using them for years. They don't know what to believe anymore. The new awareness at the same time helps validate mixed messages they received growing up. If you're on these platforms or if you're listening on the podcast and you're like, hey, but like the narcissistic people I had in my life were like my parents. Then I want to really like encourage you to go check out Bree, who runs Abuse is Abuse, and also Catherine Kleiss, who runs Stand Coaching. Both of them are on all the different platforms. Be able to check them out. Bree had a narcissistic mom, and Catherine had a narcissistic dad. So that's Bree with Abuse is Abuse, and also Catherine with Stand Coaching. Check out some of their content. With covert narcissists, just like with all narcissists, it's about them, but they have to know how to appear like it isn't. For example, they despise taking care of you when you are sick or recovering from surgery or an injury. They won't tell you that, but you feel it. They'll let you know through passive-aggressive ways. To family and friends, they will tell stories of how much they feel for you, appear to be taking exceptional care of you. They will come across as humble and will be sure to paint a picture of being a great caretaker. People around you will think how lucky you are to have someone so tender and loving by your side. The covert narcissist might even do things that look like they're taking care of you, but you will feel the resentment and you will find yourself feeling alone and unsupported even though they're doing things that appear to be helpful. The covert narcissist is a master at appearing great to everybody else, but abusing you in the process. A lot of times you'll see the covert narcissist that'll use the aspect of dog whistling, where it's something that's going to trigger you, and it's going to trigger you in public, or it's going to trigger you in front of other people, and then everybody's like, why would you act this way? Like, they've been so nice to you. They've been helping you. They've been taking care of you. And you're like, but you don't understand. That's the hard part, is when you see the difference. An overt type might yell, call you names, put you down by saying you're lazy, leave you to fend for yourself. You'll feel like the covert thinks you're lazy, but they won't actually say it. You will feel like You will feel how much they hate taking care of you, but they won't tell you that. They might word things a certain way that gives you the message without directly putting you down. They will give you subtle messages that make you question yourself. You think you're just being too sensitive, reading into things. After all, they didn't actually tell you you're lazy. You'll find yourself feeling badly for taking up their time, for inconveniencing them, and often end up apologizing for something. A covert narcissist will somehow manipulate things so that the attention comes back on them, and you won't even notice that it's happening. Covert narcissists will do the things that are unkind to you, but somehow you will end up apologizing. It's not uncommon to feel like things are your fault. They aren't doing anything wrong, you convince yourself. When you're with a covert narcissist, you learn to ignore your gut feelings, your instincts, and over time, believe that the narcissist is more than yourself. You come to realize that the covert narcissist has slowly programmed you to see things the way that they want you to see. It's common for a survivor to have a hard time explaining what they've been going through, because in their mind, it doesn't sound that bad, and they fear that people will think that something is wrong with them. A phrase I often hear at local support groups is crazymaking. Whenever one person uses that term, the room erupts in enthusiastic head nods with smiles of empathy and relief that they're not the only ones that feel this way. Many share how alone they feel, misunderstood by others who have not expressed this type of hidden abuse. A survivor will often start a sentence by saying, "I know this might not seem that bad, and I'm embarrassed even saying it, but..." And after he or she is done sharing, the whole room is filled with other survivors saying, "I totally get that." When you first begin to realize the person that you have loved and fully believe loved you as a covert narcissist, it's hard to accept because you have seen them in such a different light for so long. It's a struggle for the brain to reconcile the man or woman you thought existed with the one who is now treating you with such anger and hostility. This is called cognitive dissonance. Having two competing thoughts in your mind at the same time, and is part of the confusing feelings you might be experiencing. It's both painful and exhausting. Now, I know today on this video was like a lot of reading, but they had a lot of good content that I just wanted to like throw out there. And then we can do more videos about covert narcissism. Leave a comment down below if you want to see more videos going more in depth about covert narcissism and like talking through it. I don't want to have it where I'm always reading, but I want to be able to share that because it's a lot of good content that might spark some things in your mind of like, wait a second, this is what it is. Like I wasn't struggling with the overt, I was struggling with a covert, with a passive aggressive narcissist that was attacking me and I didn't even realize it. If that's you today and you want to reach out for help, you want to be able to talk, there's a link down below in the bio. You can go to my website, rawmotivations.com. Feel free to watch any of the small nuggets of truth we drop on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook daily. Please go and follow us on all other social media platforms under Raw Motivations. If you're listening on the podcast or on Apple Music, thanks so much. But then go ahead and like, subscribe, follow. Thank you all so much. Have a great day. He wants you to think that he's the best thing ever. And so as a result, you actually worship him. You're like, adore him. You're like, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. Can't believe this. And so all of a sudden he's put up on this pedestal. And he's like, yeah, keep the praise coming. Keep the praise coming. But he's doing it in a, oh, thank you. Oh. He's not doing it in an overt way that's going to piss people off. That's going to make them be like, oh, he's so full of himself. But he's still going to be that center of attention trying to pull it in. Covert narcissist. What is the covert narcissist? You've heard the overt narcissist. You've heard just about narcissists in general. And then we start getting into all these different labels and defining covert, communal, vulnerable, malignant, all these different pieces. Okay. What is a covert narcissist? If we had to really divide them up into two main camps, I would typically divide them into covert and to overt. You've got the loud, like the flamboyant narcissist. And then you have the quiet, shy, like, oh, don't look at me, but I'll still manipulate the situation. So there's a lot of different pieces. I'm going to be reading a couple excerpts from The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. So if you haven't had a chance to see this, be able to check this out. Also, if you haven't had a chance to see some of our journals, we have two journals. We have From Fantasy to Reality. Here we go. Show it right here. And then we also have From Regret to Gratitude. Both of these journals you can get on Amazon, and they're fantastic ways to start processing your mindset of where you currently are, of breaking down the stories in your life and starting to focus on the things that actually help you heal, one of those being gratitude. Anyways, we're going to step into The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza, and specifically in this piece of Covert Narcissist, we're talking about defining it here. The word covert is defined in the Merriam-Webster dictionary as not openly shown. Passive-aggressive is denied as is defined as displaying behavior characterized by the expression of negative feelings, resentment, and aggression in an unassertive, passive way. The narcissistic traits are true of overts and coverts. Like, they're the same. They're just hidden different ways. The difference is the covert narcissist hides their dark attributes because they want people to like them. Their reputation is extremely important to them. Overt narcissists are usually annoying people. Most people don't like them. They're showy. They love to talk about their achievements. It's obvious that they're all about themselves. The overt narcissist is the type of person who will go on and on about how great they are and how much they've accomplished while people in the room listening are rolling their eyes. You're going to be able to tell a difference between the overt and the covert narcissist. So let's dive in, and we're going to look at 4 different traits to help identify a covert narcissist. 4 different nuances that you're going to see that might be different than overt. So the first one, covert narcissists will often have careers that are impressive. They can be pastors, spiritual leaders, therapists, and heads of nonprofit organizations. They can be politicians who are charming, look you right in the eye, and seem to really care. Coverts do have a grandiose sense of self, are preoccupied with fantasies of power, require excessive admiration. But they hide these attributes so people will like them and trust them. They know that if they're obvious about the self-absorbed traits, people won't like them. They believe they are special and entitled, and they know it would turn people off if they let that be known. They know that they must appear humble and liked and revered. They know how to play people, how to charm them. They are master manipulators. They don't have empathy, but they have learned how to act empathetically. They will look you in the eyes, make you feel special and heard, make sounds, and give looks that tell you that they care, but they really don't. They mirror your emotions, so it seems like they have empathy. They have observed and learned how to appear to care. They thrive upon attention of others. People who think or act as if they're amazing are their energy supply. They have people around them who adore them, respect them, revere them, and see them as special and almost perfect, and in some cases seem to worship them. Okay, so we're looking for someone who has this status, and it's so covert. This is what's hard for people to be able to see. It's so covert because they have these pieces inside them of, well, I'm special, I'm amazing, I'm the best person ever, but let me look more humble. Let me look better so that other people will like me. I think one of the things that's key was actually towards the end was this piece of revere and worship. A narcissist, a covert narcissist, wants you to worship him. He wants you to think that he's the best thing ever. And so as a result, you actually worship him. You're like, adore him. You're like, oh my gosh, he's so amazing. Can't believe this. And so all of a sudden he's put up on this pedestal. And he's like, yeah, keep the praise coming. Keep the praise coming. But he's doing it in a, oh, thank you. Oh. He's not doing it in an overt way that's going to piss people off. That's going to make them be like, oh, he's so full of himself. But he's still going to be that center of attention trying to pull it in. One of the other things they mention is like they've observed how to appear to care. Like narcissists, a lot of narcissists know how to care to a certain level. Even when you read the DSM-5, it says lacks empathy, and it also mentioned is unwilling to acknowledge or identify with the feelings of others. Oftentimes this is a piece of where he even knows what empathy is. He even knows, hey, that actually hurt someone, but he's unwilling to identify with the feelings and needs of others. He doesn't really care. Like, okay, but I'm not really going to do anything about it. I'm not really going to invest the time and energy to show that care to another person. So inside of the work environment, when I worked for Chick-fil-A, one of the pieces there is I was really good at certain aspects of my job. So there's different people that would revere me, that would quote unquote worship me. Like, oh my gosh, he's so good at what he does. And as a result, that just made me feel better. But I kind of brushed it off, be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, because I wanted to make sure I looked humble enough while I still got all the praise and recognition and attention. You see, that's the piece of like the covert where he pulls it out. He looks good. He feels good. He's like, oh man, I'm so amazing. But he has to keep that subdued and hidden so that he doesn't look like he's just an egocentric asshole. All right, so that's the first one. Second one, covert narcissists are likable to the outside world. They appear to be giving, humble, and kind. So some of this is the same, but remember the first one we're talking about the position of power and how they come across. It's usually only the person who gets to know them intimately who sees the destructive traits. That would be you, the person that saw underneath the mask. All of a sudden you saw all the darkness inside. And you're like, whoa, this person is not as nice as what they thought. The rest of the world sees the facade, the nice guy. Many therapists don't see through the mask and are indeed often impressed with how kind and aware the covert narcissist is. And you understand this. This is why I don't recommend you going to therapy with a narcissist, especially a covert narcissist, and especially going to a Christian counselor or therapist, because they're very not well suited. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the understanding to actually go through this. It's not playing down those people. It's just I've seen a consistent trend of them being very stupid in the fact of narcissism of, hey, let me actually work with you. And they're believing everything the person's saying because the person is great at lying. And as a result, they just work with what they have. This is the hard part about therapy, is you're working with the person who is in the room. You're not working with the other person outside the room, and you're not getting their perspective. You're working with the person that's in the room. So the covert narcissist lies and tells all these stories. You're like, well, yeah, it does seem like you're abused. No, but it's this piece of lying. Okay, likable to the outside world. Covert narcissists seem to intensify their behavior around middle age. They rarely change because narcissists blame others and usually don't think they have a problem. It's always has to be someone else. It can't be him. Everyone loves a covert narcissist on a surface level. They tend to not have long-lasting friendships with people who know them deeply. Surface relationships. They may have friends who've known them for years, but don't really know them. They're rarely without a partner. After they discard you, they move on quickly to another source, another target, who will then think they're so lucky to have found such a nice guy, just like you did in the beginning. So this is a piece where, like, it will come across like he's the best thing ever. It'll come across like he's wonderful. But on the outside, it'll appear a certain way, but then it'll appear different to the rest of society. Because when you get close, you start to see what's underneath. When you start to see what's underneath, the mask starts to slip and you see who he actually is underneath, understand that's the real version. It wasn't like, oh, he was a nice guy and then he turned bad. No, he was a bad guy and then you just pretend to be nice. Okay, I'm not trying to like put good or bad and like have all that judgment, whatever. But how he's actually coming across, like healthy or unhealthy, it's working or it's not working. Understand that oftentimes you think, oh, now how he's acting, this is just out of the norm. No, what you fell in love with was out of the norm. You just didn't realize it because you hadn't seen it before. All right, third one. Covert narcissists will do things that are unkind to you, but somehow you will end up apologizing. It's not uncommon to feel like things are your fault. Anybody have had that? Have you all had that before? Like you feel like it's your fault? Okay. They aren't doing anything wrong. You convince yourself. Then, when you are with a covert narcissist, you learn to ignore your gut feelings, your instincts, and over time believe the narcissist more than yourself. You will come to realize that the narcissist has slowly programmed you to see things the way they want you to see them, and gave you the messages about yourself that they want you to believe so that they can keep controlling and manipulating you into continuing to be their supply. This is hard because for a survivor they have a hard time explaining what they've been through because in their mind it doesn't sound that bad. See this all the time when I talk to new clients. Is they'll be talking to something and I'll be like, pause. Like, did you understand what you just said? Did you understand the ramifications of how much he just manipulated you there? Did you understand what he actually changed mentally? Sometimes I'll have the person close their eyes, put their hand over their heart, both hands over their heart, and actually think through what actually happened. Do you feel it? Because oftentimes you've compartmentalized it, you've disassociated with it just to survive, and I get it. But you have to feel it in order to actually know, I have to change this. Like this has to radically be different in my life because I can't keep living this way. But so many times survivors are minimizing the abuse that has happened to them. All right, last one here. Covert narcissists can appear to be a loving partner for a long time. The behavior often becomes more aggressive at the end of the relationship. This is when the narcissistic traits become more obvious. The sense of entitlement, superiority, the arrogant attitude become more pronounced. They will still be covert with others, but the survivor will see and experience more of the overt traits coming to the surface. The mask cracks when you, the survivor, begin trusting yourself. The stronger you become, the less they can control and manipulate you. This is the piece. If you want to win inside of the toxic relationship, like you want to rise up, heal yourself. Focus on you because as you grow and develop, it will piss him off. As you grow and develop, he'll start falling apart even more. When this happens, they no longer need you. You are no longer supplying them. This is when you feel their rage more than ever. This is when their behavior turns aggressive, cruel, and shocking. After victims have left the relationships, they look back and realize how depressed they were for the majority of the relationship, how alone they felt, how they blamed their constant fatigue, health issues, and sadness on other things, not realizing the toll the relationship was taking on their body and their spirit. As a result, it's common for the victims to experience many health issues while they've been in the toxic relationship. This is because covert narcissists slowly break your spirit down over time without you seeing it, and you end up feeling like you are the problem. The emotional turmoil often manifests in various physical ailments. Inside of appointments that I do, I will ask people, what has been the physical impact? What has been the cost inside of your physicality, your body? And it's amazing to see how many of them are exactly the same. Probably one of the biggest ones, autoimmune. Next one, hair loss. Next one, lack of sleep. You can't sleep. You're going to sleep a couple hours a night. You have sleep insomnia. Next one, weight loss, weight gain, yo-yo in the weight. The list goes on and on. Migraines, gut health, like everything. We've had people that have spent $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 the previous year doing all the things trying to figure out what was wrong with their health, not realizing that it was them getting out of the toxic relationship and healing themselves mentally and emotionally that fixed 90% of the health issues. Like, we've saved people thousands of dollars because when they've partnered with us, they've realized, oh, when I actually get my mindset right, when I get my spirituality right, when I get my physicality right, when I get all these different pieces right by separating from him and focusing on myself and my own healing, all of a sudden things start to line up. A lady just in our Thriver group the other day that mentioned, hey, the other night after she went through some meditation practices that we taught her, she got a full night's sleep. Like, this full night's sleep after 30 some years of no night's sleep, of maybe 2 hours. Like, she got over 6 hours. She was blown away. She thought it was the most amazing thing ever because she's starting to get that under control because we're changing her thought process. We're transforming a mindset from the inside out. This has to happen for you to break the trauma bond, for you to get rid of the addiction, that addictive pull, pulling him to you, pulling you back to him over and over and over again. If any of this is resonating with you, I want you to reach out for help. If you're a woman trapped in a toxic relationship where he's cheated on you, he's abused you, he's lied to you, and you don't know how to be able to move forward, please go to rawmotivations.com today to find freedom. You can go to rawmotivationscoaching.com to be able to find freedom, to be able to hear from other women that have actually gone through this process, that they have actually been liberated, been freed, mentally, emotionally, or physically. I want to be able to help you find freedom. Because right now, you spiraling around, you trying to figure this out on your own, you even talking to different therapists, and they haven't provided a structured step-by-step process to be free, you need that. And we've seen that with thousands of clients that we've worked with, helping them find liberation and freedom of who they actually are and move forward in a healthy way. So reach out today, go to rawmotivations.com, rawmotivationscoaching.com. You can go both ways. I just try to give you a direct link. rawmotivationscoaching.com today. Y'all have a blessed, wonderful day, and we'll see y'all next week. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 45-day Clarity Challenge that you can access at claritychallenge.net. If you like what you see here on any of my social media, of any of my podcasts, any of my YouTube, please subscribe. Hit the notification. We're dropping new episodes, new podcasts every single day. We would love to interact with you and love to be able to help you on your healing and on your journey. Well, when we talk about covert narcissism, there's an aspect that confuses a lot of people thinking that they're completely different. When it comes down to it, a covert narcissist is exactly the same as an overt narcissist. The difference is how it's actually portrayed and what's actually there. But when we're talking a covert versus an overt, the same 9 characteristics of narcissism are still underneath. They might not be as prevalent in different aspects, so they might take different ideas or thoughts or shapes or colors or whatever it might be that might look slightly different, might be packaged slightly different, but the same core is there. Oftentimes the aspect of shame avoidance, where a narcissist doesn't want to be exposed or doesn't want other people to know who they are or what's underneath the mask. But covert narcissism oftentimes looks different because of how it's packaged up. Today, I want to highlight characteristics to watch out for in a covert narcissist to help you with your education and understanding what to see so you don't get sucked into a covert narcissistic relationship. These are not all inclusive. There's a lot of other ones out there, but a couple ones that I wanted to highlight today. First one, changing desires. A lot of times a covert narcissist has a higher sense of not having a sense of self. Okay, so what I mean is a lot of times in no sense of self of what they actually like or what's actually going on. So illustration. Okay, I was talking to somebody the other day on a one-on-one, and it was like they have hated Christmas when they were with me. Now that they're with a new supply, they love Christmas. Like, how does this actually make sense? Well, how it makes sense is they didn't actually have a care about Christmas before or now. It doesn't matter. There's not really a sense of self of like, oh man, Christmas really brings me a lot of joy. Like I really enjoy that. No, there's not that sense. It's like, oh, this person enjoys it. Let me hold it back because they want it. This person could care less. So this is a connecting point. There's different things that will happen that a lot of times a narcissist has no sense of actual enjoyment of something. They just do it because of how it produces a connection or something else like that. Now you can see this with holidays, you can see this with music, with movies, with likes, with desires, with trips, with vacations, with anything. You can see this a lot of times because a lot of times a narcissist doesn't have a stable sense of self that says, this is who I am and this is what I like. It's no, let me change and morph to be the person that you want me to be so that I can be and do the things that I want to do. Because that's what's more important, okay? Making themselves look a certain way, act a certain way, get a certain thing, have a certain status, have a piece of entitlement, anything like that, okay? So as we're talking about that, the changing desires, a lot of times you'll see this flip. Now the reason why with a lot of narcissists is because they can experience aspects of happiness, but not joy. A narcissist cannot experience joy when they're not self-aware and when they're not working on themselves to actually remove their ego from the picture and be able to have gratitude about other people and other things. And so a lot of times they're just going from one high to the other, connecting with these different things, being like, hey, this was great, and continue moving on. So they connect with what someone else likes, but it's not necessarily inherently something that they always like. Okay, so changing desires. Second one is the aspect of silent rage. This is the part where you feel crazy, where you're like, I don't even get what's going on. I don't understand this. And this is where you get like energy vibes and where you get like a piece of like something is wrong. Like this person is mad, is upset, and you talk to them, you're like, what's wrong? And they're like, I'm fine, like everything's good. But you're like sensing a whole different level. This is what's really hard to be able to identify. And when you try to talk to people about it, they're like, what are you talking about? Like this doesn't make sense. That's because a lot of it is done intentionally of like, let me do this to train you of how you're supposed to be. And so the silent rage is a piece that's really hard for a lot of people to be able to pick up on. It's like the silent treatment with different energy and intention underneath. Like you have to walk on eggshells because you're not sure what's actually going on underneath. You ask what's wrong, they lie, you feel the anger, and then the part that's really hard that we get into gaslighting is you feel the anger and then you ignore your feelings because what they're saying is different than what you're actually feeling. Oftentimes the narcissist in this moment is projecting blame on the other person, making you feel a lot of different things in trying to make you comply to something they haven't told you about, okay? So silent rage a lot of times. Number 3 is a lot of times giving you the blame. Typically, a narcissist, they don't apologize. They don't actually admit it, right? They don't actually say, hey, I was wrong, I'm sorry. But they normally take an apology and they either shove it off and put the blame on someone else, or they put the blame on you. Now, I've had a phrase for a while that I've talked about saying that a narcissist will always say it's your fault, and then they'll switch it up and they'll take it back and then they'll say it's our fault. The only difference is that they just dropped the why. They didn't change anything. Right now we're in the holiday season, so imagine packaging something up and trying to give it to a friend. The friend is like, no, I don't want that. That is ugly wrapping paper. So you take it back and you don't change the wrapping paper. You don't take it off, but you just wrap a new type of wrapping paper over it that looks different. And you're like, here you go. And they're like, oh yeah, that looks so much better. That's the illustration of what a narcissist is doing to you when they say that it's your fault and you don't accept it. And then they'll like come back later and be like, actually, we both messed up. We're both a little toxic. We both have issues. All they're doing is they're changing the wrapping, but the actual content that they're giving you, it's your fault. That's it. And so when we're talking about this, they're trying to give you the blame. You see, it cannot be the fault of the narcissist. It just can't. Like that is a huge piece of like, it can't be my fault. If it's my fault, then that means I did something wrong. If I did something wrong, then that means I'm bad. Being I'm bad doesn't match up with the mask that I'm putting out there. I'm putting out a mask that I'm a good person. So I can't tell you that I'm actually a bad person. Like all this stuff is incongruent. And so there's a frustration that builds there. The narcissist is like, I can't deal with this. It has to go on you. Can't be my fault. Has to be your fault. You need to understand that sometimes with this, it's not even personal. I had someone I was talking to the other day on a one-on-one, and they were talking about like how it felt like so personal, everything. And I was like, as I look at the situation from my perspective, they're not even thinking about you. It's not even a thought of them to have you in their mind of this is why they're doing it. They're doing it because they don't want to be accountable and they feel shame in this situation. So they're putting it on you. They don't even care. And so there's a big aspect that people take it like very personal. A lot of times a narcissist isn't even viewing it in a personal way. They're just saying, I need to get away from the guilt, shame, and blame. So I'm going to put it on you. I'm going to run away from it. Okay. Number 4, take credit for your ideas. A lot of times a narcissist will take your ideas and claim them as their own. Like, this is something you came up with. They're like, oh yeah, this is something I was thinking about. And you're like, that was my idea. Like, that was something. And then they're going to push you down of like, why are you making a big deal of it? Like, we're a team, we're a couple, we work together. Like, why does it actually matter? And like trying to like slowly give you this idea that their opinion matters, your opinion doesn't, even though it's still your idea. Like, it's kind of crazy. So they'll switch it around. They'll try to put it back on you, making a big deal. Okay. Along with that, the fifth aspect that I want to talk about is covert narcissists a lot of times will withhold praise and they'll pull back with like acknowledgement and recognition. Be like the idea of you have something in your relationship, in your marriage that you do, that you accomplish, anything like that, and they'll purposely hold it back. Maybe you're getting compliments from everybody else, or like everybody's like, wow, like great job with this. And they'll purposely hold it back. And then you start to like want that. You start to like, but didn't I do a good job? Like isn't something that you appreciated? Oh yeah, I mean, that is, and it starts being something that's used as a manipulation tool and a tactic to make you feel bad and to make you subservient to their will and their desires because you're not getting the validation that you're looking for from them, but you're getting it from other people. Now, this is like a difficult one because it's very subtle. It's very hard for a lot of people to be able to see this, but it is a attribute that a lot of times happens with covert narcissists of pulling back different things from you. Okay, last but not least, going into holiday season, a lot of times narcissists ruin holidays, they ruin birthdays, and a lot of different things like that happen. And we've just passed the holiday. We've got some other holidays coming up. Did they ruin your holiday? Did they try to come back in? Did they try to control it? Did they try to be able to take over? Did they try to disappear from it? Like, what actually happened? The reason why a lot of narcissists hate the holidays is because the day is not about them. It's about other people. And if they don't show up actually giving to other people or showing that to other people, then they look like the bad guy. They don't want to look like the bad guy, so it's like I got to be able to change it around in my mind because it's not an art day, it's a holiday. And like that's a hard part for a lot of narcissists to do because it's like, wait a second, I have to give up the admiration, the attention from all these other people for this day? Like, that's not fair. It's supposed to be all about me. Hopefully that gives an idea just of like the mindset, the shift that's actually happening there. If you're dealing with a covert narcissist and you need to break free, I want to be able to help provide a guide to do that, a step-by-step process to help you heal, grow, change, and develop, and to break the ties, not just physically getting away, but mentally and emotionally being able to separate yourself from a toxic person that you've developed a trauma bond with, that you feel it's stuck to, that you feel like you always have to go back. Been working for a while on building a tool to be able to help you with this. We've got a couple days left to be able to offer this stepping into 2023 to help you transform, heal, and change. And that's the 45-day clarity challenge to help you take back your power and find yourself after getting abused and being with a toxic person. To access that, go to claritychallenge.net. You can sign up now all the way up until the 1st of January for 2023. Let's make the new year be a year of discovering the new you. If you guys are new here, my name's Ben Taylor. I identify with being a covert narcissist more than I would an overt. Covert, especially in the majority of my life. Overt, I would say, used to be this aspect of when I was at work and when I was working with different teams, I was more overt. Steamroll, roll over different people, didn't really care, but it was very overt in how it came across. Relationships, the rest of life, pretty much covert. And so in talking through this aspect of covert, I want to be able to break it down and talk through it in a couple different ways, okay? In covert narcissism and like working through this, it gives you like the impression that something's wrong. And my wife knew that. Like, my wife knew something was wrong. Like, it didn't fit right. Like, something was off. Like there was just a gut feeling. Like there was just this idea of like, I think he might be doing this, or like this doesn't make sense. Why would he say that? And there's this like distance of kind of like pulling away. There's like this quiet punishment that happens. So we're going to kind of jump in and just walk through different thoughts, ideas, and topics about covert narcissism. I don't have like an exact scripted out thing, but just some bullet points that I want to be able to talk to, okay? So when we talk about narcissism, covert narcissism is the same exact thing as overt narcissism. It is just undercover, okay? It is not the person that you're going to suspect. You're going to be like, yeah, it can't be them. Like, they're so humble. They're so kind. Like, why would it be them? Like, it's going to be something different. Okay, and oftentimes when you're talking about this covert narcissism, it's someone who might be a little bit on the shy side. Like maybe they're not the life of the party. They're the person that's kind of sitting in the background. Maybe the person that is kind of putting down themselves. Like not talking about themselves, but still talking about themselves. Not talking about themselves as like, oh, I'm so amazing, but oh man, like I don't know if I can do that. Like putting the attention back on them. It's a very unique and covert way to be able to slip it around. In this aspect, sometimes people seem very insecure. Of like, well, I'm insecure. Like, I don't know if I can actually do this. And all of a sudden, there seems to be even more attention put on that person. But they don't want the attention. They don't want the drama. But, oh, it always seems to be there. It always seems to be about them. It always seems to be when you start to put the pieces together, like, wait a second, we're still focusing a lot of time and energy on someone who doesn't like to have a lot of time and energy put on them. How does that make sense? Sometimes with covert narcissists, you get a lot bigger aspects of playing the victim. It's not my fault. It's someone else's fault. It wasn't me. And putting everything back on another person instead of taking any accountability, any responsibility, and instead, that person left me. They hurt me. When they're the ones that cheated or when they're the ones that abused. So a lot of times you'll see coverts that come across as being humble. Sometimes like overly accommodating, like, oh, let me help you, let me serve you, let me do this. And then you're like, oh my gosh, you're so nice. And like in their minds, they're like, oh yeah, I know I am. Like that's a lot of times how it gets twisted around. Twisted around to be like, oh, I'm the best thing ever. I'm just not going to tell you. I'm just going to hide it. I'm just going to put it under the surface. That's this aspect of covert narcissism that's really hard for a lot of people to pick up. And it's the aspect that makes you feel a little crazy sometimes. Because you're like, well, they can't really be abusing me that much because they're not raging. Like, they're not being loud. They're not yelling or, like, cussing in my face. So, like, I don't get that. But they might be really quiet. They might give you the silent treatment. There might be these aspects of having these passive-aggressive comments that slowly make you feel little. They make you feel small. They make you feel stupid. The belittling comments and phrases and tones that make you feel like you're inferior to them. When they're not yelling. They're not getting really loud. They're not giving this giant aspect of posturing up and making you feel like you're tiny and small because of who they are, but just because of what they say. And a lot of times we see that over and over. And you get to the place where you know that something's wrong. You know something's there, something's off. I just can't put my finger on it. I just can't actually know what exactly it is. And it makes you start to doubt yourself. It makes you start to feel crazy. So a lot of times it's the same thing as a regular narcissist, as an overt narcissist, but it's hidden even more with the guilt and the shame that narcissist is trying to run away from. Now, before I forget, as I'm going through this, like I want to encourage you, if you're struggling with this, if you're seeing just the pieces so far that we've talked about, please go to escapetoxicity.com. We've been putting together a system to be able to help walk you through breaking free from a narcissist. It's a 7-day challenge. It's small. It's 7 days. You can do anything for 7 days just to be able to come in and say, hey, I'm going to work on myself for a couple days here to get free from the crazy making that I'm enduring. So when we're talking about spotting covert narcissism, it's hard to see. And you're going to feel crazy. You're going to wonder, like, what is actually going on? Like, I'm not sure what's actually happening in the relationship. There's so many times that I made my wife feel crazy because of what she'd bring up. Are you serious? Like, why would you even think that? Me? Cheating? Like, what in the world are you even talking about? Like, do you hear yourself right now? Like, twisting it all back around. Making her feel crazy for the accusations that she brought up, or the uncomfortable piece that she talked about, or the feelings that she was trying to say. And getting to the place of like gaslighting and convincing her that she was viewing reality wrong. That she was viewing my interactions with other people completely wrong. That wasn't true. It wasn't happening when it absolutely was. And this aspect happens a lot with covert narcissists. They'll end up getting to the place where they make you feel crazy. They gaslight. They lie. They get you to the place where you're like, I don't know what to believe anymore. And that's when it starts to break down your sense of self. Like you no longer know who you are. You no longer know what is actually going on in the relationship. Because the narcissists oftentimes can be chameleons, especially the covert ones. The covert ones a lot of times can be chameleons and can switch because they have no sense of self. Like they don't actually know who they are. They don't actually care to know who they are because they're running from that guilt and shame. But then because of that, because they don't have a strong sense of self, they don't have a strong sense of this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and so they just do whatever. They're like, I don't really care, so then they'll be with you and they'll like one thing, they'll go to the next person, they'll like the exact opposite. And you're like, how is that even possible? I thought they were like this. They weren't. They were only like that because it meant getting something from you. They were only like that because it meant they had a connection with you. They could build a bond really fast because they were able to say, I like this, and then they went to someone else and like, yeah, I hate that. I'm so glad you like this. They probably did that with you. If you weren't the first person, if you were the next person, over and over and over again, changing what they like to be able to modify their personality to get with the person that they want to be with in that moment. And then it changes. Then it moves to the next person, on and on and on and on. With a covert narcissist, a lot of times you'll get this aspect of silent rage. It's not loud, it's not overt, it's not in your face. It's quiet. And your instincts start kicking off like something is wrong here, like something is bothering them, but I can't figure it out. You ask them, hey, what's wrong? Like, are you upset at me? Like, is this? And they're just like, no, I'm fine. But you can tell. You can tell because you get to the place where you feel like you're responsible for how they're feeling. You're responsible for their anger. You're responsible for that silent rage that's happening. You're not. That's their feelings. That's their responsibility. You've got the masking that happens, the lies, the deceptions, like even more so in covert narcissism because they're really good a lot of times at not getting caught, of hiding the things that they're trying to hide, of making sure that they're being super deceptive about certain things so they can get what they want. And you see this over and over again with covert narcissism. You see a lot of times that they turn it back. They flip it back on you. Hey, this is your fault. This is your issue. This is something you have to work on. This is something you have to do. And it's back on you over and over because they don't want to deal with their feelings. They don't want to feel with their emotions. So they have to put whatever shit that's going on back on you. They do that time and time again. And so a lot of times they'll project things. They'll give you constant criticism of like always belittling you, putting you down, giving you little things that are going to slowly judge you and chip away at your character. Chip away at who you thought you were. Chip away at you. A lot of times they're going to project their issues and their feelings onto you, making you feel like you're responsible. They're going to take credit for your ideas. They're going to confuse you. They're going to make the world think that they're going to help you when they're actually not. They're going to sabotage the holidays. They're going to teach you things besides letting you actually like learn. Like, let me teach you a lesson by doing X, Y, and Z. How many of these have triggered you? I'm not on here just trying to trigger you and make you upset, but I'm here to try to like wake you up of like, wait a second, you're actually seeing this stuff in your relationship. You're actually dealing with this on a day-to-day basis and you don't know what it is. You haven't figured it out. And so now you're hearing this and then all of a sudden it's like a light bulb's going off. You're like, wait a second, this is happening. I might be dealing with a covert narcissist. I may be dealing with someone who is toxic, who is not willing to love and care for me because of what they're demonstrating on a day-to-day basis. And you start to feel like you're trapped. Like you're like, I don't know how to get out of this. Like I'm stuck because of this. Because I think they care, but they haven't shown it. Because they say they love me, but they haven't shown it. And time again, you get stuck with a person that is toxic. With a narcissist. And with someone who's covert. Is that you today? Are you struggling with that person in your life? Maybe you're with a man that keeps saying, I love you, but then keeps hurting you. You're the love of my life, but he's still cheating on you. I'll do anything to save the marriage, but he's not willing to go to therapy. If you're in this place and you're feeling crazy and confused, would love to be able to help you. Love to be able to help you move forward and to heal, to grow, and to change. If you go to escapetoxicity.com, it gives you an overview of a 7-day challenge that we put together to help you find clarity and get free. Check out escapetoxicity.com today to start your healing journey.
Hey, just want to jump in here really quick and say you might have been watching my content for a period of time, but you haven't taken the next step. You haven't taken the next moment, the next idea, the next thought to actually change your life. And I want to provide you with a couple different options. One of the ways is to be able to work with me personally inside the Thriver Intensive. What I do inside of there is help you break the trauma bond, eradicate the triggers, and move forward in the healing process. You got 24/7 access to me. You've got access to other women who are going through it, access to other coaches, but a support system that you need to finally break free once and for all, and to make sure that you don't go back, that you don't interact with them again, and that you finally find peace. If you're interested in knowing a little bit more about this, then click on the link down below, but it'll be rawmotivation.com/breakthrough. You'll be able to hear a little bit from me, you'll be able to hear a little bit from my wife, and be able to hear a little bit more about what I do to help you move forward. If that resonates with you, click on the link below, rawmotivations.com/breakthrough.
Were you in a relationship where the insults were very hidden? Almost like small little moments that they mentioned something that wasn't a, hey, you're an awful person, but implied and showed and demonstrated to you that you're an awful person. Did you ever have someone who was putting in the snide remarks, the snide comments, that it wasn't just one was bad, but it was after a million of them, you're just hey, this is actually abusive. This is a repeated behavior of how they're attacking me. Well, a lot of times when we talk about narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, we talk about some of the small, indirect insults, the insinuating comments that they make that slowly undermine stuff. But the hard thing is, to everybody else out there, they're just what are you talking about? They just made a joke. They just said something that, it might have been a little offensive, but that's just one time. And they don't see the repeat behavior time and time again of how it happens in the relationship. Today we're going to dive into some indirect insults and insinuating comments. So we're going to be looking at the book, The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. If you haven't had a chance to be able to check that out. A lot of people have had some really good success reading this, understanding more of it, because covert narcissism is a lot harder for people to be able to figure out and understand, because it looks, it's like overt narcissism. It's like regular narcissism in one sense, but it's hidden. A lot of times it's more shy. A lot of times it's more subtle. A lot of times it's not screaming and yelling in your face, but it's more passive-aggressive comments and insults. A lot of times it's not abusing you as far as throwing things at you or beating you up, but it's the silent treatment, and you're never able to get a word out of them. A lot of times there's a lot of differences going back and forth, and it's hard. I can't even put them all in here. I try to do that a little bit. If you go, there's a video that I have on YouTube that talks about this as far as overt narcissism versus covert narcissism. But a lot of times the covert ones stay in a relationship longer, confuse people even more, make them feel even more crazy, and they get to a place where everybody's they seem fine. Why are you upset about it? A lot of times that's because the insults that you get and the insults that happen are so hidden, they're hard for people to actually catch. And this is what we're going to talk about today. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. Try to provide awareness by just putting out the information there everywhere. So if you like the video today, if you like some of the stuff you see on any of the channels, share, just help people understand what's actually there. Because there's a lot of people that don't understand the shit that they're going through. They just think it's a bad marriage, it's bad communication, it's abuse from that person's childhood, and it makes them justify staying in abuse longer. So hopefully be the dealer of hope to someone else of hey, you might actually be free if you understand what this actually is. Because a lot of people don't understand. Okay, if you don't already, follow on the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Just look us up anywhere under Raw Motivations, and that's the company. Look us up under Raw Motivations. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, you can go to rawmotivations.com. Would love to interact with you. If you need help with support, advice, lessons, questions, accountability, and group coaching, then go to narcapp.com. Okay, just type in NARC app, narcapp.com, and you can actually see stuff that's actually inside the app that we've created called Narc app that you can download on Google Play or Apple Store. But you can go to that website, you can see what it is, you can sign up, you can see all the stuff that comes with group coaching, that comes with the premium supporter, all different things that are on there to be able to help you skyrocket your growth, healing, and change by finding a community that can help support you, because you need community if you're going to move forward and if you're going to heal in a really good way in a positive environment. Okay, so check that out. So as we're talking about a lot of times covert narcissists, okay? So not just overt, but more covert narcissists that use indirect insults and use insinuating comments. So I'm going to tell you a little bit here, okay? It says covert narcissists are rarely direct with their insults until the discard phase. That's when it's like, wow, all of a sudden this person's so mean to me when everything else was mean before. It was just really subtle, or maybe you didn't pick up on it. Instead, they will phrase belittling, degrading, and disrespectful comments in a way that makes you wonder, was that a put down? It sounded like a put down. It felt terrible, but they're looking at me with an innocent look on their face that makes me feel completely dumbfounded. And that's the goal for the narcissist, is like, let me see if I can put a slight in here. Let me see if I can insult you and see if you don't respond. Like if I insult you and then I'm like what? I didn't do anything. Like I just having a conversation. It was just a regular conversation. Like what's wrong? If I can play down what I just did, if I can play down the pile of crap I just gave you, and you're like, you just gave me a pile of crap, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, what's wrong with that? And you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just keep it. Thanks. That's what happens. So the narcissist shoves those things onto you, and when you accept them, then you're like, I feel awful about myself. I feel awful having this pile of crap here. But the narcissist is trying to do that in such a subtle way that they're like, this is like one of the best plates that I've made. Like, why won't you take it? And it starts to slowly degrade you and get you to the place that it seems confusing. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit more into an example that they have in the book to try to give a little bit more to it. Because some people, when they hear about covert narcissism and they hear about the small insults, they're like, yeah, whatever, like that doesn't make sense. And that might be you today, and it's not going to make sense, and that's totally fine. Like, hope you're not in it, hope you don't get in it, okay? But we're going to dive into a little bit here, okay? It says here, Sue went on a family vacation with her covert narcissist husband, Stuart, and their 2 kids. Their kids wanted to eat breakfast at the all-you-can-eat buffet in the restaurant at the resorts. Since it was expensive, Sue told them they would have one special morning where they could all eat there. The day finally came. Stuart was being difficult on the vacation, moody and irritable as usual. So Sue got up early that morning to have some quiet time by herself before the rest of the family woke. She texted them that she'd be down at the restaurant and they could meet her there when they were ready to eat. She thought she'd come get some coffee and journal while she waited for the 3 of them. The kids came running, excited to eat this massive array of food, followed by their covert narcissist dad. They walked up to the table where Sue was sitting with her coffee. Stuart looked at Sue and said with a cheery, innocent tone, "Oh, you came down here and ate the buffet by yourself?" The kids look at him strangely, as if there's no plates at the table. The daughter gave her dad a confused look and said, "Like Mom would ever do that." To the average person, this may not seem like a big deal. But anyone who's lived with a covert narcissist know that these little disguised digs happen a lot, especially towards the end. The covert narcissist says something that sounds innocent, but the victim can feel the passive-aggressive put down behind it. This is why a lot of times I think it's hard to even be able to put it in a book, and it's hard to even be able to sometimes communicate it, over here without having like a real-life example, because the passive-aggressiveness, the tone, the body language, the approach can all be geared in a way to actually make the other person feel awful, feel degraded. This is why a lot of times you'll have narcissists that take like a condescending tone, or like a commandeering tone of like, I'm better than you, and they might be like, well, this is how you have to do it. And they're not saying it in the words that they're saying aren't bad. Like the words aren't like, oh, do it this way, this way, this way. But how the tone comes across, you're like, yeah, now I just feel like an idiot for what you just told me. Be like, they'll use tone, approach, condensation, like they'll use all this type of stuff to be able to manipulate. And so some people, like when they hear that example, they're like, that wasn't so bad. Well, you only heard one out of like a million. Like there's a lot of different ones that keep happening. Okay. It says here, to continue probing deeper with this couple's example, Sue was roughly 40 pounds overweight. She felt insecure about it, especially on vacation. She was trying to eat better and lose the weight. Stuart knew this. He also knew from 27 years of being in the relationship with Sue that she would never go out to eat by herself. That wasn't her personality. He used her insecurities to hurt her. When he casually and innocently made a comment about her eating a whole buffet by herself, he was saying much more than the comment itself. It's that subtle aspect that's trying to dig into the other person to get a reaction, to get a response. People who haven't experienced covert narcissism might say Sue is reading into this, but he was just asking a question. Stuart would say the same thing, telling Sue how overly sensitive she is, how touchy she is, how high maintenance she is. This is why many victims are scared to tell their story, because sometimes the scenarios don't sound that bad. Like the woman who says her husband spent a lot of time working in the yard and she felt abandoned. Most people would hear that and think she just needs to get a hobby. The reality is the woman was picking up on something. She could feel it. She had lived with covert messages of how unworthy she was of her covert narcissist love for years. She had experienced many subtle ways he would punish her for not being the way he wanted her to be. It's insidious abuse because no one sees it, but the victim feels it profoundly. It affects every fiber of their being. And I want you to know, if any of that resonated with you today, that you're not alone. Because the narcissist out there, the person you're with, the toxic person you're with, wants you to feel like you're alone. Because if they can get you to feel like you're alone, then that means that you are the only source of your hope, your joy, your worth, your validation comes from them. If they are the only person, then they can control you. They can sign you up forever as being a slave and a servant to what they want. If you're with a person today and you're struggling with this and you're thinking, maybe this is what's happening, but I feel, it just feels that way. Like I don't even know how to describe it. Jump inside the Narc app and ask some people. Because there's a lot of people that have dealt with this. They could be like, hey, no, you're actually going through this. This is actually something that's abusive in nature. This is actually something that it's not you minimizing it. Like it actually is the real thing. But you have to be able to put yourself out there and understand, first off, you're not crazy. And second off, you're not alone. Because the stuff that you're going through, what you're feeling, you can pick up on stuff that doesn't even have to be said, that doesn't have to be out there. You can pick up on energy. You can pick up on passive aggressive. You can pick up on, the unworthiness. You can pick up on them projecting things onto you without them even saying it. That's why it's so hard to be able to figure it out. It's so hard to be able to understand. But the more you get true, the more you get facts, the more you get clear about your situation by understanding more about it, by getting involved with people that, hey, they see it because they've been in it, they've lived in it, they've gotten out of it. That's the part that'll help. Because the truth, among anything else, the truth is what sets you free. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, on a day-to-day basis. Have a good day. Do you ever feel like you're in competition with someone else? Do you ever feel like there's someone else like in the picture, or maybe the relationship that you're in, you always have the person that you're with talking about another person, whether that's a person at work or a previous partner or whoever it might be? Do you ever kind of notice that? Do you ever feel like there might be a competition between you and that person? Or maybe you just feel jealous or envious, or you're not really sure. A lot of times there's drama around certain aspects of being with a narcissist that people don't always pick up on. And a lot of times you have a covert narcissist that is adverse to drama and says, I don't believe in drama. I don't want drama. Drama is not something I dabble in or that I want in my life. But then drama always seems to be around. And drama always seems to be close by no matter what you do. Well, today I'm going to talk about some with triangulation, and how that actually looks, and how that looks as well with covert narcissism, and how it's very subtle in several different ways. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. Awareness for people to understand what narcissism actually is, what it looks like, how it is in the regular life and what you see, not just the textbook definition, but also how in practicality it comes out. Growth, healing, and change to be able to help people get clarity of what they've been going through. Help them understand with the cognitive dissonance of two opposing thoughts in their mind being with a narcissist, and that trauma bond that keeps pulling them back. That idea of, I know this person's toxic, but I still want to be with them. Why do I still want them? What is the rumination? All those different types of things I try to talk about on my channel, and then also interact with people in one-on-ones, trying to help them find that healing, growth, and change so they can live happy, healthy, and whole lives. If you want to talk sometime, feel free to grab the link down the bio or visit my site at rawmotivations.com. Would love to interact with you there. Would love to interact with you on all the other platforms. We've got several platforms that are up and are dropping nuggets of truth every single day. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast, thank you all so much. Please follow, subscribe, like on any of them, because we want to be able to spread the message to more people. If something that you hear today resonates with you or resonates with a person that you know, share this episode with people so that they can understand more of what's going on. We have to build awareness. One of the ways we're building awareness and developing a community is through the NARC app. I want you to take a time to be able to go and download the NARC app. Just type in NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, NARC, into Apple or on Google Play. Follow us on all the other social medias out there under Raw Motivations. So anyways, what I wanted to talk to you today was about triangulation. So triangulation is oftentimes where you're pitting two people against each other. So the covert narcissist is kind of like in between, and it's like the triangle of they're here and there's two other people and they're pitting them against each other. Oftentimes the other people have no clue what's actually going on or don't realize that the narcissist is talking to both people in such a way that's pitting them against each other. Think of it almost like raising up the ante or like haggling with someone. It's like, I can do this, and then, well, I can do this, and then going back and forth. The narcissist actually wins in this regard because they're getting more out of each person. Sometimes they're getting just a reaction because those two people are clashing because the narcissist made it happen. Other times they're getting more out of those people because they're playing both sides, whether that's in an affair or a cheating relationship, but they're saying like, hey, like this person, like they treat me like this person treats me like this, and they end up upping what the other person gives. They end up upping having what the other person tries to go after the narcissist to try to make them even feel better or more connected in the relationship. A lot of times the covert narcissist I mentioned will say that they hate drama. Like, did you have someone in your life that said like, I don't do drama, like drama's not my thing, I hate it absolutely, but then it always seems like there is drama revolving around them? And the thing with covert narcissists, it's a little bit harder to see because an overt, you're like, whoa, yeah, that's drama. A covert, it's more like, I'm humble, I'm shy, I'm vulnerable, I'm quiet, like all this type of stuff, but they're orchestrating all the drama that's happening around them. And you start to realize as you see them go in different aspects of life, the drama still follows. The drama is still there while they're saying that it's not. One of the books we've been going through recently is The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. I wanted to be able to touch base on a little bit and kind of explain a little bit here. So it says triangulation is a manipulative tactic where the covert narcissist acts as the messenger between two people. They'll pit others against each other without either of them noticing that the covert narcissist is the one creating the drama. Often, covert narcissists will talk about how they hate drama, put others down for being so dramatic. The truth is that the narcissists create drama, and they do so in such a covert way that victims won't notice. For instance, the covert narcissist might lie and tell a neighbor negative things that you've been saying about them when you haven't said anything at all. Then the covert narcissist will come and tell you that the neighbor has been saying those things about you, which the neighbor never said. The narcissist will word things and play on emotions in that way so that you feel bad for them even having to deal with the stress of the made-up rivalry. Every time you and your neighbor see each other, you both feel anger, hurt, and tension. This can build up over time as the covert narcissist keeps stroking the fire by continuing to feed both parties false information about each other. While this is happening, they'll sit back and watch the animosity grow, maintaining his or her innocent reputation to put to your face and to your neighbors. They will act caring and empathetic to your plight, and this can go on for years. The narcissist is that person in between that's orchestrating it happening. They're orchestrating the whole interaction or frustration that you're having with another person. This is a very popular tactic that narcissists use to isolate you. They'll use this to isolate you from your friends, from your family, in a way that you'd be like, no, they never tell me, no, don't hang out with my friends or don't do this. But a narcissist will use this to isolate in the way of just planting small seeds. Hey, did you hear what this person said about you? Like, oh, you didn't? Like, did you know that they were actually saying this? Oh, you didn't? And you start noticing over time, slowly, the disintegration of it. Of what you know and what you believe about another person slowly gets eradicated, not because they did anything wrong, but because the narcissist slowly put in ideas in your head of something that wasn't true. After a year of dating, Don told his wife, Jackie, that his sister said Jackie was a bad driver after she spent the day taking her around to different sites while she was in town visiting. Really? Jackie thought. That's a strange thing to say. She knew she was a good driver, and it seemed like she and Don's sister had a great day together. Yes, she also said you make her feel... Yes, cannot read today. Yes, she also said you made her make your bed while you sat and read a magazine. Is that true? Did you? Don asked with an innocent look on his face. What? No, I would never do that. Why would she say that? I don't know. Don continued. He said with an innocent tone as if he felt badly for Jackie. It appeared to her that he was on her side. She was confused. She kept thinking about what he had said. Did I drive recklessly? Did I make her make my bed while I read a magazine? I would never do that. Did I do something that made her feel I wanted her to make my bed? There must be a reason she said all that. Jackie started to question her own reality. She was also devastated. She wanted so much for Don's family to like her. Don later told Jackie that maybe she should try harder with his family. She felt so much pressure and hurt. Over the next several years, she worked hard to connect with his family and let them see who she really was, hoping that they would like her. At times, things seemed really good. But then Dawn would tell her something else the family said about her. This kept the tension building and made Jackie feel on edge and insecure about his family. This tactic keeps the targets distracted, attributing their pain to others instead of revealing the real mastermind behind all of it. It also keeps the targets in an endless confusion, and they feel like they're never good enough. See, what you have to realize is the more insecure you are, the more in control the narcissist is. The more insecure you are, the more in control the covert narcissist is. You see, if someone's talking badly about their wife, a healthy husband, anyone like that, the other partner stands up and says, hey, this isn't how we handle this. This isn't how we talk. Covert narcissist doesn't do that. Covert narcissist tries to get that information to the other person, tries to fabricate that information to the other person for the purpose of triangulating and destroying. Triangulation can also look like a covert narcissist telling his girlfriend about a person at work that keeps flirting with them. And it can look the same way about telling their girlfriend or the partner that they're with about previous exes, of how they were so amazing or how they were so awful. And all they're doing is they're setting up stuff so that the new person knows, hey, this is how I act or this is how I don't act in order to be in the narcissist's good graces. And you'll see the triangulation appear in the discard phase. The covert narcissists decide they don't want to be with you anymore. Instead of talking to you about it, they'll go to a third party. And this is where you start to see them take screenshots of your conversations, of record you, and they start to send it to another person. Typically, they'll start to send it to the next supply to start to prepare the way of like, hey, I'm in a bad relationship. I'm in with a crazy person. Like, this person is awful. And they build sympathy for the other person. They triangulate that whole argument. Then when they go with the next person and you come after them, they're like, see, this person, it's crazy. And once they find the new target, covert narcissist talks openly about how much happy they are with the new partner, which is another form of triangulation. And triangulation happens throughout the relationship with the narcissist in multiple different facets, in multiple different ways. If you're in a relationship today and you feel like you're competing with someone else that's outside the relationship, you have someone that's in the relationship that's sharing private information that you guys talk about with other people out there, you might be dealing with someone who has narcissistic tendencies or this a covert narcissist. If that's true, I want you to get help. Reach out to a therapist or a coach. I would love to talk to you. You can grab a link in a bio or rawmotivations.com. If it's not me because you don't want to talk to a narcissist or you want to talk to someone else, that's totally fine. Find someone to be able to help you understand and to give you the clarity that you need that you're not crazy and that you're not alone. A popular tactic that a covert narcissist uses is intermittent reinforcement. Of that back and forth, that push-pull, the idealization, the devaluation, the idea of giving you something or wondering when you're going to get it time and time again, and it holds you out longer. It makes you feel that there's more hope, that there's potential, that there's a maybe of something coming. Sometimes we refer to this as breadcrumbing. Sometimes it's just gaslighting. Sometimes it's future faking. But it's the idea that they're putting thoughts, they're putting ideas out there that's going to happen, or they're giving that praise and it's going to happen, or it does happen for a moment. And then it's like, when is it going to happen next? And you're constantly wondering, going back and forth. Is that you? Are you struggling with that today? Is that something you're noticing just in this little intro here that you're noticing happening in your relationship? If so, you might be dealing with a toxic person that's using intermittent reinforcement to manipulate and to extend their stay in your life. If you guys are new here, my name's Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. I do that in a couple different ways. I do that by dropping nuggets of truth on all different platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you don't follow me already, go out there and just click on it, look up Raw Motivations. We also do that by having live events, typically like on Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, and on Monday nights inside our NARC app. We do this to be able to try to answer questions and just promote awareness. If there's anything in this episode that connects with you or that you resonate with, or you know, hey, this person is dealing with this too, send it to them. Share this, because more people need to understand what's going on. If someone had shared this with you a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, think of how that would have changed and transformed your life. Because a lot of people don't understand what's going on. If you're on your journey today and you need help with a community of like-minded people, then please go on to Apple or Google Play and find the NARC app. Just type in NARC. It stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. It's got courses on there to be able to help you understand what narcissism is, to show you how healthy dating after abuse, to help you build boundaries, to help you understand the crazymaking of gaslighting. So many different things on there to help you understand. But then also a community. You need support. You need a community that's going to help you grow, heal, and change on that process. You can ask advice. You can introduce yourself. You can give different thoughts of, this is what I'm learning, this is what I'm sharing, so that you can help other people and other people can help support you. It's a great place for accountability that you can log into every day to be able to track your no contact, to be able to record your truth, to be able to keep yourself on that path of growth, healing, and change. There's a way for you to book sessions from me, from other creators that are on there, other coaches that are willing to help you grow, heal, and change in all aspects. We also have every Monday night the lives that are inside the app only. We've got the replays inside the app. You can come on screen, you can ask questions, almost like mini coaching in one sense, that happens inside the app to be able to answer questions and help you. It's inside the app because it's secured, because sometimes people are going through stuff or have active situations that they don't want their face out there in public or their questions out there in public. So we keep that all private and secured to be able to help you and to be able to help protect you as you're going through these crazy and these trying times. We also have monthly coaching that happens every single month typically on the first Monday of the month, where we'll have at least an hour where it's either with me or with one of the other coaches around the world that are helping you understand where to go from now, how to continue healing and growing and changing as you move forward. So check that out on Apple and Google Play. Just type in NARC, stands for NARC, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community. Would love to have you join there. So what I'm talking about today is intermittent reinforcement. We've been looking at a book recently, which is called The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. Okay? And it talks here about intermittent reinforcement. I'm not going to butcher it today. It's fine. All right. So intermittent reinforcement is the context of a relationship when kindness and loving acts are not given consistently, but rather intermittently. In 30 Covert Emotional Tactics, author Adeline Birch writes, "This is extremely powerful and effective manipulation tactic. In fact, psychology experts consider it the most powerful motivator in existence." And that's put in the hands of a narcissist, of a person that is very often an abuser and someone who's manipulating you each and every day. So let's look at it. Intermittent reinforcement is the conditioning behavior where the covert narcissist sets the rules. Their love is inconsistent and on their terms. It leaves you feeling unstable and longing for their love and attention. The relationship becomes a mixture of subtle cruelty and periodic affection. They will woo you and withdraw from you in a given moment. This conditions you to keep trying to please them in order to get the reward of love. It brings you to a place where you lower your standards so much that you become grateful for mediocre treatment that you had never tolerated when you first met them. You end up believing that you don't deserve any better and that you're not worthy of any love and affection, or you think that is just what happens in marriages. In dating situations, covert narcissists will seem uncertain about you, and other times they will express how you are the one for them. You never know where you stand with them. It's so true. So many times when I talk to people on one-on-ones, or I'm trying to help people like understand and give them clarity about their situation, they'll be like, I never knew what was going on. Like they never would define the relationship. They never would tell me what they wanted. Like it'd go back and forth. Like they'd spend like weeks with me, then they'd disappear for weeks and it'd go back and forth, and they never had a clue, because that is what they're trying to get you to hold on to, is that hope, that potential, that maybe of what's coming. And that's what helps build a trauma bond. That's what keeps people stuck. The hard part about it is you end up believing that you don't deserve any better. You end up believing that this is what life looks like. You end up believing that this is defining your worth. That's one of the main reasons why I'm on here, to help with awareness, growth, healing, and change. And really that boils down to a big aspect of helping dissolve the idea of cognitive dissonance in your mind, of understanding, hey, I'm worth more than what this person treated me. I'm worth more than how they gave me reinforcement so intermittently that I didn't even know where I stood. Dr. Robert Spolowski, I'm going to butcher it, but a neuroendocrinologist and author, does a great job explaining on a YouTube video why intermittent reinforcement is such a powerful and effective manipulative tool. He explains that what happened to dopamine levels in monkeys when the reinforcement patterns changed during a study that was published a little more than a decade ago. The monkeys were trained to learn that when a light went on, if they pressed the lever, they'd receive a reward. They were rewarded every time. Dopamine levels did not rise when they got the reward. Instead, they rose in anticipation of the reward coming. Then the scientists changed the rules. The monkey did the same amount of work, but only got rewards half of the time, and the rewards were handed out unpredictably. What do you think happened to the dopamine levels? They rose to levels similar to when someone uses cocaine. This is what happens to the brain when you introduce the maybe into the equation. It is the incredibly powerful control tactic. People will work like mad for a maybe far more than they will for a certainty. Did you hear that? People will work far more for a maybe than they will for a certainty. Oftentimes, people will continue to look and try and work in the relationship to try to get a person to do something, to accept something, to see something. And because they hold on to that hope and that potential, it ties them into a trauma bond and they get stuck. That intermittent reinforcement that they showed with like the monkeys gives you like the idea that they are so latched onto the idea of when that's going to happen. Like you see this in relationships with narcissists along the lines of like breadcrumbing of like, hey, this is going to happen. Or hey, here's a tiny little bit, and you accept that and you're like, oh my gosh, they love me. They took out the trash once in the month. They actually like said hello to me this week. And people start holding on and latching onto things that are so tiny. They're so minuscule and not a part of a healthy relationship. The monkeys were experiencing love bombing in the beginning. When the rules changed, it became the devaluation stage. See, it sets you up to work incredibly hard to receive those tiny morsels of love, that breadcrumbing. A covert narcissist will say loving things and nice things to you, compliment you, make you dinner, buy you gifts, but only on a random basis. Mixed in with nice, loving behavior that keeps you thinking this is the person you fell in love with, which is also belittling, that keeps you feeling weak, small, silent treatment that makes you think you've done something wrong, moodiness that makes you believe you are the source of their unhappiness, and several other means of making you feel insecure and not good enough. Did you feel the covert narcissist withdraw at times? Did you feel him kind of pull back? Because typically when that happens, the next person says, like, did I do something wrong? Like, what was it that I did? Did I do something that I shouldn't have? And it puts that doubt in your mind where you start thinking, like, wait a second, what did I do wrong? And the problem is, it says here, you will expend a lot of energy trying to bring them back to you, trying to undo whatever you might have done. Then they will be kind to you and you'll feel relief. It's an emotional roller coaster of them pushing and pulling you back and forth that builds the hope, the potential, the maybe that locks you in and keeps you coming back for more time and time again. You get addicted to that. And the only way to break that is to break the trauma bond, to break the addiction, to actually work on changing, rewiring your mindset so that you don't keep going back to someone who's toxically abusing you. That's what I work with people on a day-to-day basis, with one-on-ones, with coaching, with group coaching, to help them rewire their mindset. So otherwise, you just keep going back. How does it make you feel? It makes you feel desperate, dependent on their actions, working hard for a reward of love, for a tiny bit of love. Many times victims will think that they're codependent because they act in a way that a codependent does. But in truth, many victims are not codependent. They've been manipulated in such a way that they behave in ways they normally wouldn't. Maybe you notice in the relationship now that you're behaving completely different, or you're accepting a lot less, or your standards are much lower than when you first started with this person, or when you were with anyone else in the past. You might be working through a process of getting intermittent reinforcement that has made you think, I deserve this, or this is all I'm going to get. Oftentimes when you're in these toxic relationships, you start to settle for the breadcrumbs when you could experience the whole loaf. What you have to realize is you're worth so much more than what another person is making you feel.
You've been told it's all your fault, and that makes you feel crazy. No one understands you, and that leaves you in a place of being alone. You've tried to break free multiple times, and that leaves you helpless because nothing you've done has actually worked. It hasn't actually got you free or liberated from this toxic relationship. So you feel crazy, alone, and hopeless. Guess what? That's a lie. Because all it is how you've been raised and conditioned inside of this abusive relationship over and over. And as a result, you've sacrificed your growth, you've sacrificed your worth, and you've been trapped inside of a toxic relationship. What if I showed you the path to freedom? A way for you to actually get free mentally and emotionally from the toxicity that's happening right here, right now. You deserve more. You deserve to be able to heal. And I want to help you with that. If I can help you with that, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Schedule a call there and let's talk.
A lot of interesting and different stories when you hear about sex with a narcissist. A lot of times people have very varied results with being with a narcissist in general, as far as like how the abuse was, how they came across, what they actually did, but then even more so when we're talking about sex with a narcissist. With overts, you have a little bit of a different strain. With coverts, you have a little bit of a different strain. Sometimes people say, hey, it was the best sex ever and absolutely loved it. They always, like, that was the biggest connection point. None of the people like, sex, I didn't really ever have sex with that person. And they always made me feel devalued for even wanting it. A lot of times we see different aspects of this happen when someone's with a narcissist, and oftentimes how it comes across. Today what we're going to dive into the book, The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist, that a lot of people have been connecting with, and actually go into the chapter talking about sex with a covert narcissist. Diving into this, I want to be able to dive into chapter 8 of The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza, and into sex with a covert narcissist. Sex might be one of the most common methods of gaslighting a covert narcissist uses to control and manipulate. Most people don't notice. It's incredibly insidious. You can't get any more personal, vulnerable than your sex life. Covert narcissists use sex to manipulate through psychological means, making you feel as if something's wrong with you. When someone manipulates and controls you through sex, they set you up to think that something is wrong with you, so you blame yourself. You feel shame, and it affects your confidence and self-worth. You lose your ability to stand up for yourself because they are attacking the deepest parts of you. Now, oftentimes when we talk to people and they've had to get out of relationships and they start to look back and they're like, I didn't think I even had a sex drive. And then all of a sudden I do. Well, a lot of it had to do with the stress that you were under. The anxiety, the adrenaline, like everything that you were actually under. Sometimes people realize when they get out of those relationships that it was their body keeping them from actually having a great time, because of the fact that their body already knew that they were in a stress-induced state based on the trauma that was happening there on a day-to-day basis. It goes on to say, you feel embarrassed, shut down. It's incredibly personal. You believe that whatever is wrong with your sex life is your fault, which is exactly what the narcissist wants you to think. That's like that in all areas, right? The narcissist wants you to think that it's your fault, whatever it is. Whether it's sex, whether it's cheating, whether it's relationships, whether it's communication, whether it's trust, everything has to be your fault, not the narcissist. When you have sex with a covert narcissist, their pleasure is the most important thing. It is all about how they feel. You get the message you don't deserve pleasure. and are subtly punished for having your own feelings, reactions, and confusion about what's happening in the bedroom. Your feelings don't matter to the covert narcissist. I'm sure a lot of you are shaking your heads and like understanding and agreeing right now because you know, not just in the bedroom, but just in life, your feelings didn't matter. Like they weren't valid. Like you would try to bring up your feelings, trying to talk about like, hey, this is bothering me. This is something I'm struggling with. And they'd be like, I don't care. And sometimes it would be covert and sometimes it would be overt of like, I don't care. Or they just wouldn't respond. They wouldn't give you that attention or that acknowledgement that you even exist or that the problem is there. But instead, it's swept under the rug, it's pushed away, and they move on. Susan didn't have a sex drive for most of her marriage and couldn't figure out why. When she married her covert narcissist, she was young and a virgin. She had nothing for comparison. Feeling embarrassed and ashamed, she wondered what was wrong with her. Her husband seemed fine. He wanted sex, so she concluded that she must be the problem. It goes on to say she couldn't handle the thought of someone else judging her. She had enough of that from herself and her husband, so she stayed quiet about it for years. Over decades, she tried to fix herself, but when nothing helped, she wondered if she just wasn't a sexual person. A lot of times you see narcissists that manipulate other people to make them think that they are the problem. The thing too with narcissism in general, but especially with like sex with a narcissist of like, hey, there's no connection. There's no moments that are actually happening together. And they start to feel ashamed of like, I can't really talk about this to people because everybody thinks we have a great relationship, a great marriage, whatever it might be. And a lot of times people are like, I don't want to be able to share it. There's a big aspect that narcissist projects even their own shame onto the victims. He ended up being a person who was manipulated, used, and made to believe she was not sexual by her ex-covert narcissist. She's now healing from those years of being shown what real love actually looks and feels like. You see, sex is one of the most powerful ways that covert narcissist controls their victims. When you have no desire for sex and can't figure out why, you feel bad that you are letting the partner down. They'll let you know in various ways how much you are letting them down. They won't worry about you, what you are feeling, and your struggles. That is not a concern to them because it is the relationship that is not about you or even the two of you. It is about the covert narcissist. And a lot of times people struggle about this in the sex part and in the life part. Like the relationship that you have with a covert narcissist is never about you. A lot of times people think that it has to do with them. It has to do with them being connected. It has to do with themselves, but it's not. It's only about the narcissist. That's all it's ever about. When Dawn dated her covert narcissist, the sex was great. They seemed to have an amazing connection. It was easy. He was romantic. He said all the right things that made her feel great about herself and her body. She felt pretty. She felt sexy. And they were very active sexually. This added to her believing that she was the perfect match for her. It's common for this to happen at the beginning. Covert narcissists mirror you sexually as well as emotionally during the love bombing stage. They become you. They act like you. So it feels like you are in sync. You can't believe how good every part of the relationship is. And oftentimes this is one of the hardest things that people struggle with, realizing and understanding is how that mirroring happens at the very beginning. And especially if they found out soon and like went out of the relationship or they got discarded really soon, they're like, but wait a second, but it was good. It goes on to say, soon after Dawn and her covert narcissist got married, things started to feel different. The love bombing stages was now over. The subtle devaluing and demeaning stage began. She didn't notice anything different about the sex except how she feels. She told Brad, her covert narcissist husband, that she didn't know why, but every time she had sex, she felt used. It didn't make any sense to her, but they were both open when it came to communication, so she wanted to let him know how she was feeling. He looked confused, acted like he cared, and seemed as though he wanted to hear. Even though Brad's words were nice, Dawn could feel his anger towards her underneath them. The conversation began with her telling him how she felt and somehow ended up with her apologizing and comforting him. He deflected the focus, didn't address her feelings, and instead turned the attention back on him as the victim. She would continue to share with him how she felt over the years, but nothing ever changed. Covert narcissists aren't interested in looking at their own issues or changing any of their own behaviors. And we see this time and time again in the relationships. They'll make it be like it's your problem. It's your fault. It's not the covert narcissist's fault.
Dawn's body knew she was not being loved and that she was not emotionally safe with Brad. So her body shut down. She lost all desire for sex. Brad told Dawn how this affected him. He had needs and she wasn't fulfilling them. She felt terrible. Even though this all started with her feeling used because her body, her intuition knew she was being used, it turned into her taking the blame for their diminishing sex life, feeling a heavy burden of shame and guilt and believing something was wrong with her. Dawn tried reading books and articles. She even went to therapy, tried all kinds of things to figure out what was wrong with her. At times she wondered if her husband had a part in this, but she couldn't figure out how. So she took all the blame. And Brad did nothing to stop her from that. Years went by. Life kept going. They had kids, jobs, etc. They would address the sex issue here and there. Sex happened infrequently. Brad used this to control Dawn for years. She felt like a terrible wife. Her husband became more and more distant. He punished her passive-aggressively for years, and she took it because she started to believe that she deserved it. When he was distant on dates together, irritable on every vacation, sabotaging every birthday, she felt like she shouldn't expect any better because she wasn't giving him much sex, so he didn't owe her his love and kindness. Brad made comments over the years about how easy it would be for Dawn to be a nun, or wondering why if she was a lesbian. As she gained weight over time, he made demeaning comments about her self-image and kept it low. She started to see herself as overweight, non-sexual, and hopeless. And oftentimes what you see is a covert narcissist that wants to project and manipulate and communicate every single thing so that you feel down, so that you feel like it's your fault. Several of you probably recognize and will probably get some comments down below saying like, oh yes, like my covert narcissist did this as well, because you realize like, wait a second, like they devalued me. They put me down. They make me feel like it was my fault. I end up apologizing for stuff that they did. And so many times we see that time and time again. And one of the biggest things that like frustrates me now, understanding and learning more about this and talking sometimes to narcissists, is they'll be like, yeah, they're not meeting my needs. And I'm like, that doesn't mean you need to show up like an asshole. Like if someone's not meeting your needs, you need to figure out why, and figure out that 9 times out of 10, when someone's not meeting your needs, it's because there's no connection or they're not emotionally safe and their body's shutting down. So part of that comes back to, how are you learning? How are you leading? How are you living? Let me know in the comments if you liked this episode, if it was something that you resonated with, if it's something that you want to hear more of, because there's a big aspect about this that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot. And I'm trying to at least bring it to the surface a little bit more through the Covert Passive Aggressive Narcissist book, and we'll go from there. Thank you all so much. Did you have a toxic person that raged out at you, that yelled, that screamed, that just came at you, was in your face, maybe was even physical violent? There's a lot of people that have this type of interaction with a narcissist or with a toxic person, but there's some people that never did. There's some people that had a completely different experience with that narcissist or toxic person, and a lot of times that experience was very subtle and very quiet. Today we're going to be talking about some of the aspects of narcissists that have the piece of not yelling, not screaming, but you can still tell that you're getting the silent rage. If you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness, growth, healing, change, and development. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the Escape Toxicity Challenge, which is a small 7-day challenge to start you on your healing journey. Check that out at escapetoxicity.com. Well, when we talk about this aspect of narcissism, we normally talk about people that are dealing with a lot of rage. For me, that was one of the things that I accessed probably the most, is rage. It was the easiest emotion. It was typically stemming from aspects of guilt or shame, but oftentimes it would come out as pieces of rage. Of what do I need to do to avoid accountability? What do I need to do to avoid what's actually happening in the moment? So the majority of the time I would move past it. I would try to distract people. I would get to the place where I'm raging out, I'm yelling, I'm screaming at other people, versus actually taking accountability for my actions. So when we talk about narcissism, we typically deal with a lot of narcissists that have a lot of rage. It's just, how are you actually seeing it? What does it actually look like? Is it actually out loud, or is it quiet? And typically when we're talking about narcissism and rage, it also goes into this aspect of when it's silent and it's quiet, we're typically talking about vulnerable or covert narcissism. Now, vulnerable or covert is the same thing
as an overt, a grandiose narcissist, but different. It's important for people to be able to understand that. Like, we're not looking at two different, completely different things. We're looking at the same thing molded out in two different models. One person, an overt, might be raging and screaming at you. The covert might be giving you silent treatment or doing belittling or passive aggressive or punishing you. They're both the same thing, but they're channeled in two different ways. Sometimes people get that confused. When we're talking about covert narcissists, we're still talking about the same stuff. A lack of empathy, grandiosity, need for admiration, all the different things that you're going to have in regular narcissism per se. But unlike the overts, coverts are normally going to appear more introverted, more self-effacing, like more putting themselves down. Like they're going to be more of the humble ones, the shy ones. Sometimes it's the people that say, hey, I don't like the drama. I don't want to be in the drama, but they're in the drama. Like they're the center of the drama. Typically, you're going to see a vulnerable or a covert narcissist be more on the victim side of like, oh, I'm a victim. Like it's no, don't pay attention to me. Like I'm the one that got hurt. Like all this kind of stuff will happen. For me, I was more of the victim side. Overt, more in the workplace. Covert, regular life. I was the victim in the relationships. People left me. Like I was loyal to them, but they left me, making a victim story that I would tell other people. That I would connect with someone else because I'm like, man, I'm so glad we can finally connect now, because the last person like didn't want to connect with me in this way. They didn't actually understand what was going on in this regard. And so a lot of times when we deal with narcissists, we deal with this aspect of them being covert, of them being a play to be able to manipulate and get you off kilter because they're not actually yelling and raging at you, but it's more quiet. It's more silent. So we're talking about this aspect of covert narcissists. We're still talking about the aspect of superiority, entitlement, but oftentimes they're going to have different expressions of that. With lacking empathy, with different manipulation, they're normally doing this, but it is in a subtle way. So when we're talking about this aspect of the silent rage, I need to be able to bring this kind of into perspective here when we're talking about silent rage. Both narcissists are dealing with rage. It's just, how is it actually coming out? How is it actually shown? Well, silent rage is a form of emotional abuse in which the narcissist uses silence and withdrawal to punish and control the victim. Oftentimes, you're going to hear about this from the passive-aggressive comments to the idea of giving the silent treatment. Now, I want to be able to clarify the difference between silent treatment and no contact. No contact is an intentional thing on the survivor's side to be able to protect them from being in a toxic relationship. The silent treatment is a manipulation tool from the narcissist to be able to control you and to be able to tell you, hey, it is your fault. Did you ever have a narcissist where he is in your life and he's telling you different things and all of a sudden he goes completely silent? And you're just left like wondering and thinking like, what did I do? What actually happened? Like what transpired? And all of this starts to happen and like confuse and frustrate and things like that because you're like, I must have done something wrong. Like there must be something that I did. And then you finally get to the place that you go back to this toxic person and he doesn't communicate. He doesn't tell you anything because he's waiting for you to grovel and come back to him and be like, I'm sorry I did something wrong. Okay, well, we'll work on that. We'll work on your issues. We'll work on the frustration. And so with that, you have a narcissist that will actually leverage the silent treatment to manipulate, to get you to start to apologize for stuff that you've never had to apologize for. They'll get you to stop acting a certain way by just giving you the silent treatment. Sometimes with this aspect, they'll stonewall you. They'll just put up a wall like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Like oftentimes looking like the silent treatment. There'll be aspects of sulking, of where like they're sitting alone in the corner being like, woe is me. Like this victim mentality of like, I can't believe you did that. And you're like, what did I even do? And you're left confused wondering what's actually going on. This is where you also get the ignoring piece of where a narcissist is ignoring you and not willing to identify that you even exist. This can be incredibly confusing and even on the lines of gaslighting you in your own house, of walking by you, acting like you don't exist when you're asking questions, when you're asking and working, trying to work things out, and they're not willing to even talk to you. This is where we also see a lot of the belittling and the passive-aggressive behavior. I feel like something's wrong. No, there's not anything wrong, but the digs that they make start to chip away at you like, wait a second, like this actually hurts. But when you bring that up, they tell you not to be so oversensitive, not to be so controlling, overbearing. Like, why can't you just take a joke? Like, there's all these different pieces that are going into it to confuse you in what's actually happening. Well, in dealing with this aspect of silent rage, like I mentioned, it's used to be able to control and manipulate you. It's used as a way, as a tactic to be able to maintain and get back in control of the relationship. When a narcissist takes and withholds communication, withholds affection, withholds intimacy, the narcissist ends up making you feel like you're guilty and you're responsible for their emotional state. When people start to think this, they start to believe that they're responsible for how that person feels, how that person acts, how that person responds, and ultimately gets to the place where you start to blame yourself for their actions towards you. It is a process that all of a sudden you wind up being like, man, I'm sorry that you hit me. Like, I'm sorry that you yelled at me because of something I did. Like, it starts to get back to the place where you're apologizing for their actions and for their issues. Well, what are some things that you need to do to be able to work on this? Well, first thing is understanding like what is actually happening with the silent treatment, that it is meant to manipulate and to control you. The first step is understanding, hey, this is a game that the other person is playing, saying, hey, I want to be able to control you by doing this. So as soon as you accept it, you can be like, hey, I'm not taking the blame for something that I didn't do. I'm not accepting something that I didn't do. Instead, you start to take a look at, hey, silent treatment, let me go on a day for myself. Let me go work on myself. Let me go focus on my journaling, my meditation. Now I have extra time to work on me. Like, that's how you have to spin it for a little bit, at least until you can get out of the relationship. Making sure that you actually set and enforce boundaries, not just with the narcissist of like, hey, like, I'm not going to accept that, but also in your own mind of understanding, wait a second, like what that is someone projecting something onto me. He's trying to put a pain on an idea and a thought and a limit on me as far as like what I did when I didn't even do that. Like, so many times we'll see the silent treatment and rage and things like that come out and they're trying to punish you for something that you didn't even do. But because it seems so confusing, because it keeps going back and forth, you're like, wait a second, maybe I did this. And then I would encourage you to be able to seek support. Whether that's a therapist, whether that's a coach, and just whether that's community, to get with other people to understand, hey, I need to understand and I need to figure out what I'm actually dealing with and how to be able to work through this. Before I forget, I'd like to mention like the Narc app. You can go to narcapp.com, N-A-R-C-A-P-P, narcapp.com to be able to get involved in a narcissistic abuse recovery community. And with those people, you can connect on a weekly basis with other survivors all across the globe. You can start to build friendships, build relationships there of understanding, hey, I'm not alone. Like, I'm actually able to have other people that tell me, hey, what you just went through, that was crazymaking. Now you can get free. Now you can understand. The last thing I would be able to say is this idea of developing self-care strategies and coping with the crazy making that's going to get put on you. Because the silent rage, like putting you down, the passive aggressive, all these different pieces are going to be there to try to convince you of something that's happening, try to convince you of something that's going on that's not actually there, as a way to manipulate and control. But when you start putting in self-care strategies of like, hey, let me go ahead and make sure I'm seeking support from others, I'm practicing mindfulness, I'm journaling, I'm writing stuff down to ground myself in the truth, you get less pulled away from this idea of the other person controlling and manipulating you. So in dealing with some of this aspect of covert narcissism, of silent rage, it can be really, really confusing and challenging. But I want to encourage you to recognize behavior, understand by setting boundaries, start to ground yourself in journaling and understanding what's going on, and reach out for help. If you're confused, if you're struggling in this toxic relationship, I'd like to invite you to go to escapetoxicity.com. It's a small 7-day challenge that we put together just to start you down that road of healing. So one of the stages in our healing process, working with us with Raw Motivations to help get you to the place where you're happy, healed, healthy, and whole. Check it out, escapetoxicity.com. Did you ever feel crazy in the relationship? Did you ever feel like the other person just made you feel insane? Maybe you were in a toxic relationship, a narcissistic, sociopath, psychopath, whatever it might be. But did you ever have those like feelings of like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, I feel really crazy. Well, today we're going to dive into some stuff and hear from some survivors and hear from some people who have been in a relationship with a covert narcissist. And just to kind of scratch the surface on some of it to get an idea of what did they feel like? What did they experience when they went through this? Because I'm hoping that this can give you a little idea about what some people experienced and felt like, and hopefully maybe spark some ideas in your head that might kind of tune you in of like, wait a second, I know a person like that, or I've dealt with someone like that, or I'm in that relationship. So I want to be able to talk to you a little bit today about covert narcissism and what people feel like when they're with a covert narcissist. If you're new here, my name's Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform to provide awareness, growth, healing, and change. We do that every single day across multiple platforms by providing small nuggets of truth that we're dropping on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and also on the podcasts. So if you haven't been able to check some of those out, check them out. Go under Raw Motivations on all those platforms, and would love to have you follow, interact with the community there. We're developing a large community as well inside the NARC app. If you haven't had a chance to download that, check that out on Apple Play and Google Store, but it's NARC, N-A-R-C, stands for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Community, a community of like-minded people that are there to be able to help you, to be able to help give you advice, to be able to encourage you as you're going through all the craziness and all the crazy making that you've been through, to help you understand, hey, there's a place where you can check in every single day to track your no contact, to record your truth, to make sure that you're engaged with a group of people that understand what you've been through. There's courses on there. We do weekly lives every Monday night to be able to get into a place where it's exclusive, where people can't see it, like broadcasted to the public. So you can come on screen, interact, be able to tell what's going on in your life right then and right now, to be able to get advice, kind of talk through stuff. We also have monthly coaching where we bring in coaches from all over the globe to be able to help train and help focus you to the next level of not just narcissism, but like, what is life going to look like next? How am I going to develop boundaries? How am I going to develop my life and take it back, and take back my power? So we'd love to have you involved in that. Download the NARC app, Apple Store, Google Play. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you guys so much. Go ahead and give us a rating or a review, and we're going to dive right in. So covert narcissism, okay? So this is coming from the book here that we've been going through just recently, The Covert Passive-Aggressive Narcissist by Debbie Mirza. And so in this one section here that she's talking through, it gives the idea of like what survivors feel. Okay, so we're trying to get on the flip side to maybe give you like an idea of like, this is what's actually going on with me. So it says, list of common things that victims told Debbie whenever they were in a relationship with a covert narcissist. I felt like the narcissist was interesting and I was dull. I felt judged for the dumbest things. It's like passive aggressiveness. I felt like things were about me were irritating to her. I felt like I was too quiet, too loud, too opinionated, too strong, too lazy, too picky, and not easygoing enough. I felt stifled, held down for years. I didn't feel free to be myself, not all of me. I felt needy when I was around him. I felt insecure. I felt like I was an object that was easily replaceable. I felt like I was the positive one. It felt like he was the positive one and I was the downer. I felt like I was too emotional, too sensitive, too much for her. I didn't feel valued and pursued. I didn't feel like he wanted me to thrive. I felt stripped of confidence, happiness, joy, and excitement for life. I felt like a failure. I felt like the way I parented irritated her. I felt like so many things were wrong with me. I felt like I didn't deserve love. I felt like I was never good enough. I felt like there was no way to win his approval. I had a lot of self-doubt. I felt not considered. My self-worth was really low. I felt old, tired, weathered. I felt depleted. I felt a lot of anxiety. I never felt thin enough or pretty enough. I never felt like I wore the right clothes. I felt lifeless and drained. You see, a lot of people that have been with a narcissist, if it's an overt, sometimes can figure it out. And sometimes can see it a little bit easier because it's in their face, it's yelling, it's aggressive, it's sometimes physically violent, a lot of different things. But with a covert narcissist, a lot of times those feelings that we just read through make you doubt yourself. Like, well, this is how I felt, but maybe it's my fault. Maybe I didn't do something correctly. Maybe I haven't been around life long enough. Maybe I haven't matured in this area. Maybe I don't just know these things that the covert narcissist knows. Like, all these different thoughts kind of go through people's heads so that they don't really check in with themselves to figure out this is actually not you. It's the narcissist. But the feelings there that we read through, I mean, popular ones of like, I feel like a failure, or I feel like I'm not enough, like those are over and over. And I talk to people every single day with one-on-ones, different things like that, that say, like, I didn't feel good enough in the relationship. And it wasn't just because they were struggling with self issues. It was because the other person was constantly demeaning them and putting them down, devaluing their actions and their attitudes and what they were trying to do every single time to make them feel low. Here's some of the things that survivors said that they feel now as they discover the truth about their covert narcissist spouse, parent, or boss. Low-level depression. I feel such a deep grief like I've never felt before. I find myself crying uncontrollably at times. So angry. I feel alone, even though I have family and friends that support me. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever feel happy. I look at people laughing, enjoying themselves, and wonder if I'll feel that. The more my eyes are opening, the lighter I am feeling. It's hard to imagine ever being in a relationship that is the real thing, to actually be loved by someone who wants nothing from me, but simply enjoys me and truly loves me. I feel suspicious of new people I meet, not knowing who I can trust. I feel scared about the future, not confident I'll be able to make it in this world on my own. I'm feeling a lot of self-doubt. I haven't had a good night's sleep. There are a few days I find myself entertaining thoughts of leaving this planet. It feels like too much. I'm tired a lot. My self-confidence is low. I feel misunderstood. I try to explain the relationship to friends, and it never sounds as bad when I say it out loud. Then I question myself in even more despair and loneliness. I stay home a lot. I don't like being social. I find it hard to date people because I no longer trust the nicest people. I've been overeating a lot, which makes me feel even worse about myself. I have no desire to eat. I feel discouraged because he seems so happy and I'm still falling apart. I feel like I'm always bracing myself for the next angry phone call, email, or text from him. I'm so used to being sabotaged by this person. It's like I'm constantly waiting for the ball to drop. I'm starting to feel more hope. I'm beginning to feel stronger. The other day I got an angry email from my ex. I noticed the same trauma I always feel, but I was able to move on faster this time. I'm beginning to dream again, starting to actually feel excited about my future. I'm feeling really grateful to be out of that relationship and have space to heal. Did you resonate with any of those? Did you resonate with the first section? Did you resonate some with the second section? Did you see how it kind of shifted towards the end where people start to realize there is healing possible? And it's not just for people out there, that's for you. A lot of people, first thing they come to the realization, and when they start to realize that they've been in a relationship with a narcissist and how it looks and how it feels so crazy. I've had so many people ask me, they tell me their story and they look at me in the eyes and they're like, am I crazy? And it's always like an encouragement to be able to tell them, no, you're not. What you've been going through and how you feel crazy right now is actually normal. It's normal for the crazy making that this person put you through. It's normal for the abuse that you've suffered. It's normal for the gaslighting, the dog whistling, the manipulation, for you to react this way and feel really frustrated, really mad, and really crazy of like, what is going on? This isn't me. That's normal. Because you've been in that relationship with a covert narcissist, with a narcissist, with a toxic person, anybody, it doesn't matter. And oftentimes people are wondering that, like, is this normal? Well, hopefully with just reading some of that, you were able to realize that you're not alone. And there's a lot of other people that have felt the same things that you're feeling, that have experienced the same things that you're going through, that have wondered, wait a second, is it me? Is it them? Am I toxic? Are they toxic? Is it both of us? Like, what's actually going on? You might be involved with someone who's a covert narcissist. We recently did a couple of videos on covert narcissism. You can search them on my channel. We're going to be doing more videos on covert narcissism. But what I would first encourage you is, if you've been with a covert narcissist, number one thing is you need to start journaling. You need to start writing down your truth of what's actually happened in the relationship, what's actually going on now, because otherwise you'll get to the place where you'll start to doubt yourself. And one day you'll start to doubt yourself so much that you'll want to go back to this person. Maybe you're struggling right now because you want to go back to that person now. And the thoughts that are going through your mind are like, wait a second, like, I just want to go be with them. I want to see them. Maybe they'll change. Maybe they'll understand. And a whole litany of thoughts comes into your head. And I want you to take a pause and just wait and remember. Write down, go through your journal and write down everything that happened in the relationship, because you're going to have to review that to make sure that you stay based in truth. Because otherwise, the narcissist will pull you back into their fantasy world and convince you that they were right and you were wrong. And I don't want you to go back. I don't want you to feel that with another person. I want you to stay away from the abuse to strengthen yourself. And that first has to start off with truth. You might be dealing with a trauma bond. And if so, would love to be able to talk to you and help you work through that, because the trauma bond is very confusing and very hard. It's built on hope and potential and cognitive dissonance and the push-pull back and forth, and gets you to a place where you feel stuck with a toxic person. But I want to let you know today that you're not. And there's lots of people that we've worked with. There's thousands of people even on the NARC app that have come through that are learning, growing, and changing and getting into a community of like-minded people that are following and tracking no contact. They're making sure to record their truth because they know it's so essential to be grounded in truth in order to get free from the abuse. Overt narcissist or grandiose narcissism seems easy to deal with in one sense. Like, you can see it, you can spot it, you're like, yeah, that person, don't want them in my life, let's move away from this. But what happens when you've been with an overt, a person you're like, this is definitely a narcissist, and you get rescued, or you move on to the next relationship, and it ends up being a covert narcissist? Have you ever encountered someone who seemed so charming, so empathetic on the surface, but then manipulative and self-centered underneath? Maybe you're struggling to navigate the relationship with someone who exhibits covert narcissistic traits. Now, brief idea just over it is overt and covert narcissists have the same trait. The difference is how they're presented. The difference of how they're actually seen. We've done several videos here on YouTube under Raw Motivations that actually talk about covert narcissism, that go into more of the details. I even have a couple videos that talk about overt versus covert, so you can see how they all match up. I'm not going to dive in all those today, but I do have that resource available for you here on YouTube under the Raw Motivations channel. Okay, but then the question is, what do we actually do? How do we actually deal with narcissists when they're in the covert category? Okay, if you guys are new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. I'm the founder of Raw Motivations, the creator of the NARC app, and your guide in the 7-day challenge for $7 to help you understand narcissism, reactive abuse, the fog that you're in, to help you move forward in your healing, growth, change, and development. You can access that, or you can talk to me in a coaching scenario, or we can see if you could be a good fit for one of our communities at www.rawmotivations.com. So check that out today. When we talk about this piece of covert narcissism, first I want to just clarify, like, understanding some about what it actually is. Okay, it is the same as narcissistic personality disorder. If anything, it'd be more considered a subset. The thing is, it also isn't clarified in the DSM-5 of like, this is an actual thing. We just have narcissistic personality disorder, and then people have come up with different definitions, covert, overt being one of the biggest ones. Okay, covert is more of a unique aspect of narcissistic personality disorder, wherein like the individuals display an unusual sense of like humility or sensitivity and sometimes vulnerability, and that whole goal is to be able to mask the self-centeredness and the grandiosity. Okay, now this could be along the lines of like, hey, like, I know I want to be the center of attention, but if I actually say that, like an overt, if I actually look like I want to be the center of attention, like an overt, then that will look bad in society. So therefore, I'm going to hide it. I'm going to actually shove it down, but I'll do simple things to still make me the center of attention. Did you ever have that one person in your life where you're like, this person hates drama, but then you're like, but there's always drama around them? So like, it seems like a little incongruent of like, they hate it, but they're still always in it. If they hated it that much, maybe they would be out of it, but no, they're always still in it. Okay, so like that, it's the idea of like, hey, let me be humble, let me be quiet, let me be vulnerable to different things, but what's actually underneath is self-centeredness, grandiosity. Okay, overts are going to be able to exhibit that and just be like blatant arrogance. Covert narcissists might use subtlety and charm to manipulate and control others. What this does is it makes it really, really challenging for you to actually discover their true nature. And you're like, he doesn't seem like a narcissist. He doesn't match up to the normal narcissist. He doesn't scream and yell at me. He just like belittles me quietly behind my back. Like, I don't know if he's actually toxic or not. Okay? A covert narcissist might present themselves as caring, as selfless individual to people in public. But behind closed doors, then what he's actually doing is manipulating you, gaslighting you, in order to maintain control over you. We see this in so many different scenarios. I was talking to a client the other day, and she was well-to-do, like making a decent amount of money, and he wasn't. So as a result, the narcissist, he got with her being like, let me feel like this will make me feel better. But at the same time being like, oh, this doesn't. So let me go ahead and belittle her and bring her down to my level, because he was never going to be at the capacity of being a producer that she was. This aspect doesn't have the narcissist being like this overt of like, you're an awful person. It just has to be like, man, you work so much. Like, I can't believe you value that so much over me. Like, I thought we had a connection. I thought like we were working on this, but it seems like all you're obsessed with is work. Maybe you should just like come home. You could just be a stay-at-home mom. We could just do this. Like all these different things. It's small and subtle. And this is why it makes you feel like you're going crazy. Because you're like, I can't actually put my finger on it, but something is off. Something is weird. A really good example with covert is the aspect of like getting angry. You might have an over narcissist that yells and rages and screams at you. And you might have a covert narcissist that's very silent. And then you're like, something's wrong. Something's off. Like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. But they're silent because they're slowly punishing you. And you can feel this energy of anger. You're like, something is wrong. What did I do? You start to feel crazy because of the situation that they're putting you in. Okay, we need to be able to look at like narcissistic traits and like be able to identify them. Like you have to be able to see like, hey, this is like the nuances of it. One of the best books to be able to go over that is going to be The Passive Aggressive Narcissist by Devi Mirza. It talks a lot more of like the covert aspect of what is actually seeing underneath. Okay, the passive aggressive narcissist, the covert passive aggressive narcissist by Devi Mirza. So check that out. Okay. Common traits, like oftentimes you're still going to have the sense of entitlement, need for admiration, lack of empathy, but then you have this passive aggressiveness that a lot of times is inundated in the whole aspect of covert narcissism. And oftentimes as well, the tendency to play the victim of like, I'm going to look like something's wrong. Like everything's wrong because like I'm the victim. Like everyone's attacking me. Everyone's harming me. This was me in a lot of relationships being like, hey, I'm not the one that left the relationship. They left me. Well, it was because I made their life so awful that they actually left me every single time. But I didn't want to view that. I had to be the victim. Okay, so then at that point, I'm like, man, everybody leaves me. I can't believe why people keep leaving me. The whole thought process, trying to switch it around to make myself feel like the victim and play it off as the victim so that I get more people that are like, oh, you're the victim. Let me help you. And I'm like, great. Now I've got more attention. Okay. You see how that works? It's like, it's not being like, oh, pay attention to me, but it's like, man, I'm the victim. And people are like, oh my gosh, let me help you. And I'm like, yeah, great. Pay attention to me. You see, there's a difference there. Okay. That's why like with narcissists, with my channel, with like who I am, I'm like, I don't have that much sympathy for narcissists. I also don't want your sympathy for me. And I also don't want to ever play the victim. Be like, I am who I am. I'm on my own journey and I'm here to be able to help other people along the way. Okay. Now, think of it this way. You might have like a colleague or a friend who always seeks validation for their accomplishments. Okay. On the surface, not that big a deal, right? But when you see this pattern of behavior, you start to also notice that while they're seeking these accomplishments, they're also trying to put other people down. Of like, yeah, my accomplishment was so much bigger. You're like, did you see what I did though? Like I can't believe you didn't like acknowledge that. And so they're slowly exhibiting different pieces of like covert narcissistic traits. You're like, wait a second, something's there. Okay. Now the question is, what do we actually do? How do we actually work through it? Okay. You give a cut and dried answer of like, they're all narcissists, so just deal with it the same way. But want to be able to give you try to give you at least a little nuances, a little different aspects with it. Okay. When we talk about dealing with covert narcissism, it requires really setting and enforcing boundaries in a very good and positive way for yourself. Now, with boundaries, we need to clarify boundaries are for you. They're not for the narcissist. Too many people screw this up and they're like, well, boundaries are rules and regulations that I'm applying on another person so they actually conform to the things I want them to do. No, that just sounds like a lot of mainstream Christianity. Just conform to the image you're supposed to be in versus having a connection with another person. Okay. Now, when it comes to this, you're putting in boundaries in your life to protect you of where that person's going to go. This might mean you actually stand up for yourself and be like, hey, appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm not going to go that direction. That is not for me. I get that. That's what you want to do. That's not for me. Okay. You might want to yell at me. That's not for me. You might want to berate me. That's not for me. This isn't a relationship that I'm going to be in long term if this is how you're going to continue to act. You can act that way, but this is how I'm going to live. Do you see the difference? You're not telling this person, hey, don't yell at me. Okay. That'd be a rule. That'd be a regulation. Okay. But it's also a common gesture of like, hey, like this should happen, right? You shouldn't be yelling at other people. But the same sense, you're saying, hey, this is what I'm limiting for me. I'm limiting my exposure to toxicity. If you want to be toxic, that's on you. And you start to pull back of what you actually can do for you. Like, you need to be able to see, like, you have to start avoiding what's actually happening in the relationship, because you're going to fall into different manipulative traps of like trying to control you. And so when you're able to step back and be like, hey, this is me. I'm not making this move. I'm not making this step. I'm not going this direction because this is not who I want to be. It starts to take away a lot of the power and control dynamic from them, from the narcissist, because like you're no longer like playing to their games. Okay, this comes with the aspect of staying true to your values and your priorities. If you're stuck right now and you've been like, I've been going in a cycle in my life from narcissist to narcissist to narcissist to narcissist, like that has a problem of like, let's work on your vision, your values of who you actually are. One of the biggest strains I see in different relationships is the reason why you keep going to a narcissist is because it's what you're used to. It's because you don't know who you are and because you don't have healthy boundaries. Those are the three things that typically always forces people back into another toxic relationship over and over and over again. Even in their mind, if they know, I don't want this, we still see it happen. Okay? By staying true to your values and priorities, you can help prevent covert narcissists from exerting this influence in your life and end up controlling. Okay? Now, think of it this way. If a covert narcissist attempts to guilt trip you, to do something for them, you just firmly say, like, no, this is my boundary. Like, this is actually what I'm willing to do. This is what I'm not willing to do. Okay, what this does is it means you end up declining what they're doing without giving into the manipulation, without reacting to how they're actually trying to trigger you, without responding in a way that puts you in a negative light. You're just saying like, no, like this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm not going to do. Okay, it's helping take this piece out. Now that's hard to do because until we work on you actually learning the formula to deal with the triggers, you're always going to be tempted to just lash back out, to respond in a way that's not actually helping you. Okay, healing from this aspect and working on your self-care is one of the biggest things we can do to help you work through this. Part of it is not just engaging in self-care practices, not just getting support, but also helping you rewire the story that you believe. Because otherwise you'll start to believe the narcissist version of reality. You'll start to cater to them. Slowly but surely, they'll keep chipping away until you start believing their reality. If you want help with that, if you want to understand how we start breaking that down step by step by step, go to www.rawmotivation.com. We've got two different options there for you. One is Escape Toxicity, the 7-day challenge, and then one is our Clarity Challenge, the 45-day Clarity Challenge. The Clarity Challenge dives in more in depth to breaking the trauma bond, the rumination, the nuances there, and teaches you in a deeper level the formula of how to break free and rewire your mindset on a day-to-day basis. And if you want to be able to reach out, you can go to www.rawmotivation.com, click on the one-on-ones. We'd love to be able to work with you, love to be able to help you in your healing journey today. I want to be able to talk to you today a little bit about covert narcissism, and we're going to be referencing the book. There we go. We're referencing the book by Dr. Ramani, okay, right here. That's Don't You Know Who I Am? How to Stay Sane in the Area of Narcissism, Entitlement, and Incivility. You see, a lot of times when people are talking about narcissism, they normally think of, the one person that's snapping selfies of themselves and is putting themselves all on social media and is becoming a certain way or acting a certain way in front of other people. And a lot of times people forget all the other traits of narcissism. Just having a high ego or a sense of entitlement is only one aspect of what actual narcissism is. The covert narcissist has a lot more things going underneath the surface than what you actually see. And sometimes that can be really confusing, especially for the people stuck in those relationships, because they don't feel like they're getting abused. They don't feel like this person is a narcissist, because it doesn't appear to be one. So I want to talk to you some about that today. We're going to read some of this book by Dr. Ramani. So the covert/vulnerable narcissist is how she defines it. She says, this is a stealth form of narcissism, but is a very difficult one nonetheless. Covert narcissism has variously been labeled vulnerable narcissism, hypersensitive narcissism, and fragile narcissism. Historically, while there has been more of a focus on the classical overt narcissist, there has always been a theoretical body of work that has addressed this less obvious but equally difficult narcissistic personality style. Covert narcissism is characterized by a lack of empathy, projection, entitlement, hypersensitivity, arrogance, paranoia, passive aggression, sense of justice, resentment, and insecurity. You might recognize they look very, very similar to a lot of things with regular grandiose narcissism. There's a couple of things kind of slid in there. Hypersensitivity, paranoia, passive aggression, sense of judgment. Covert narcissists are not showy or grandiose in an obvious manner. Rather, they believe the world does not understand them or their special, unique, or great abilities. More of a masked grandiosity. Other more vulnerable patterns such as anxiety, depression, especially in the face of disappointment or shame, and social withdrawal are also commonly observed in this pattern. Did your narcissist struggle with depression? Did they struggle with that frustration of nobody understands me? A lot of times we talk about that being the victim complex, or how they're coming across of being so victimized of something going on. But a lot of times you see covert narcissists that's their mantra, that's how they are, of always thinking no one's going to understand me, no one's going to recognize me, nobody's going to figure this out, time and time again. It says in 1997, Holly Hendon and Jonathan Cheek, a graduate student and a professor at Wesley College, respectively, attended the measurement of covert narcissism work they updated in 2013 with a revised scale, and basically argue that covert narcissists are actually grandiose, they just don't advertise it. Does that kind of make sense? So it's they have all the same grandiose regular per se narcissistic traits and narcissistic aspects of wow they're this, but in reality they're just hiding it. They're just putting it deeper down inside. Maybe you could say a covert narcissist almost is like a mask inside the mask in that way. Another layer in one sense, trying to hide behind what's actually going on. And let's talk about some of the traits that she talked about here. So lack of empathy, obvious because it goes with narcissism. Projection, very true. Entitlement. Hypersensitivity. That's a different one that we don't always talk about. So when you think of hypersensitivity, a lot of times that's going back to the idea of criticism. When someone's trying to give a person feedback or criticize something that they're doing, a narcissist will get very, very upset. But covert narcissists are going to lock onto that even more. And not let you forget it, not let them forgive you of what you're bringing up about them. How could you say that to me? I can't believe you do that. And they put you as the bad guy whenever you're trying to give feedback or trying to talk to them or trying to criticize something for that area of growth. The other one to mention that I wanted to point out is passive aggression. So a lot of people that get confused if they're dealing with narcissistic abuse because what they say is my narcissist, the person in my life, that toxic person, didn't rage out on me. And this is where a lot of times that overall picture of what narcissism looks like has gotten confused for a lot of people because they only think of the person snapping selfies and then the person raging out. Not all narcissists rage. That might be a new one for you. That might be a new one that you haven't thought about. But not all narcissists rage. Is it common? Yes. Is there rage there? Yes. But not all of it show it. There's this aspect of passive aggressiveness that happens with a narcissist that's very unique and underneath the surface. One of the typical ways you'll see that, especially to get a reaction, is the aspect of dog whistling. Dog whistling is the idea of where the narcissist pokes and prods at you time and time and time again in private, and then when they're out in public with someone else, they'll drop the same comments, the same statements, the same reference back to something that goes back to that constant prodding, and it makes you react. That passive aggressiveness is so hard. Sometimes it's very manipulative in nature, of getting rid of things, of hiding things, of changing small little things that they're not coming out and yelling at you, but they are breaking you down piece by piece. She goes on to say, instead, these people are stuck in their own head, wondering why the world never gave them the recognition that they deserved. And they may actually feel like forgotten geniuses. They also believe that the world owes them something and maintains a brooding anger about not having received the things that they believe they deserve. That entitlement is real. They tend to be resentful of the world, of people in their social sphere and in their family, of anyone that they perceive to have a better life than they do, which is just about everyone. Narcissists will look at everyone else's situation. I was talking to someone the other day on a one-on-one, and they were asking me about like narcissism. They were asking me like how like some of it like relates in one sense, because you have narcissists that are looking for like ideal love sometimes. Like they get locked on that obsessive idea of ideal career, ideal love, like whatever it might be. And sometimes that aspect of getting locked on to ideal love is the aspect of like, I want what those people have. And the narcissist is always trying to find it, always trying to get it. But the thing is they can't, because they're bringing themselves into the relationship that's also the ones destroying the relationship. But so oftentimes you'll have people that are looking for that. They're thinking, maybe I can get that. But then like, I'm just a victim because the world doesn't understand me. Woe is me. Like all that type of stuff keeps popping up. Their interactions with other people tend to be hostile, and it is this way that covert narcissism mostly closely resembles more traditional narcissism. Covert narcissists are believed to be more likely to hold what is known as hostile attribution bias, which is a style whereby people will interpret or overinterpret the motivations, and by extension behaviors, communication, and actions of others as hostile. Not surprising, because when they think that others are being driven by hostility, their responses mirror that hostility. Did you ever have that where you bring something up, where you talk to them, like that's that hypersensitive piece of like everything is attacking. You're like, I'm not attacking you. I was just asking to share my feelings. I was just asking to open up about this. I was just asking if I can go to the grocery store. Like all these different types of things that happen, and the narcissist just attacks. And you're like, what is going on? And again, that attacking doesn't have to be rage. It doesn't have to be this giant, like, grandiose thing that's happening. But seeing, like, the narcissist attack because they think everything is out to get them. The world doesn't understand me. You don't understand me. I'm like I love how they say, like, I'm a forgotten genius. Like, all that type of stuff happens on day-to-day basis. And being able to know, being able to realize like what's actually going on is key for a lot of people, because they don't know what's actually going on in this aspect of covert narcissism. It is like a mask inside the mask. It's another level deep of narcissism and how those traits work. A lot of times people ask me, they'll be like, are you covert? Are you vulnerable? Are you grandiose? Like, what type of narcissism do you struggle with? I kind of struggle with both, of grandiose and covert, because in even like reading some of this, there's stuff that like I pick up of like, okay, people don't understand me, of people like being hostile, like coming towards me. Like some of those really resonate with me, and it goes to play with the victim mentality that I had going with other people, doing other things, of saying, hey, people always leave me. It's not about me. It's not about like anything else that I'm doing. They just leave me. Like, what's going on? And always playing like the victim mindset. Like, that's what I would do. Like, people don't understand me. People are always leaving me. That kind of aspect is where I really resonate a lot with the covert. There's other stuff that I don't resonate as much with covert, but I resonate some with the grandiose and with covert.